OutKick The Tailgate, presented by Farm Folio. Another week. We are at Innisfree, live from Tuscaloosa. Big game tonight against LSU and Alabama. A big show for you today. Clay Travis, Dan Dakich, Jake Coker is going to be joining us in the third hour. Gentlemen, Chad Withrow, Jonathan Hutton, Jill Savage. Chad's here.
Look, I can be whatever you want. I can be Jonathan Hutton. I can be anyone on the set right now. I can play whatever role you need, Jill.
We've only done this
What
for
do you need
a few
from me
weeks.
today? That's all I need to know. What do you need? I'll be it. You
know what? I need you to enjoy Innisfree because Jonathan and I were here last time. Chad,
you were missed. Thought
that it was acceptable to go out for a bachelor party. He's also going to be gone next week for the wedding as part of this whole debacle, I will say, of a friend getting married during football season.
This horrible decision of these nuptials that are happening in fall. By the way, it feels like winter right now. I'm sure that last time you guys were here in Tuscaloosa, it was not this cold. It's 41 degrees here right now. A little bit warmer.
It was very pleasant last time.
Very pleasant.
Good.
Yeah. And I think
plan on warming up. I plan on warming up as the show goes.
Do you think that Chad had a little FOMO from last time? Because we kept saying, like, how much fun it was here at Innisfree in particular, that it was one of the best stops that we had, like, as far as, like, going to the game, going out, the crowd here, our Farm Folio friends helping, like, hooking us up with all the tickets and everything. It was a little jealous.
Chad and I, great friends. Absolutely FOMO last time with Farm Folio and everyone here in Tuscaloosa.
See, I thought you guys were really overselling it just to make me mad because I wasn't there. Then I got here last night and I realized, well, it's actually pretty awesome in Tuscaloosa. We're here at Innisfree, which was awesome last night also. And I'm thinking, you didn't really oversell it. It's as amazing as you guys hyped it to be.
Well, and that's only Friday night. This isn't even game night yet. So, prepare.
Settle down.
Settle down. You guys.
Is it going to warm up today? I'm not sure how weather works, Jill, but when the sun comes up, it starts to warm up, right? Is that how this works?
But then the sun will go down again.
Then it gets cold again?
Yeah.
Wow. This is news to me.
It was not cold last week, though. We were in Jacksonville for the cocktail party. The two of you stuck around, stayed for the game. What was that like?
It was cool because it's exactly 50-50 in the stadium. It is not it felt like a bowl game, right? That's what the cocktail party felt like. The tailgating was much better than the game day atmosphere.
You know that time in the morning when everyone's hungover after a big night?
Right now?
Yes. Everyone else, clearly not us, but everyone else. But that time where like
the whole town right now.
You know the time I'm talking about, like where everyone gets really quiet, like there was conversation earlier, but then everyone gets in a mode where no one's speaking. That was second quarter of that game. Okay. I feel like the hangover from the parking lot tailgate and the parties set in the second quarter. So it was sort of a weird vibe in the stadium. That and, Georgia's defense settled in, and then it was a hangover.
So the cocktails weren't flowing inside, only outside in the tailgates.
Correct.
Pretty much.
Yes.
Pretty much. It was better pregame than postgame. Easily.
Then I'm okay with my decision to go ahead
You
and
made the right call.
Bail on that one early.
Here's what was great about that game, though. It sparked all of this discussion about Dan Mullen.
Right.
And recruiting and him shutting down media availability and everything else. So that was the exciting part of the game.
When you looked at that, and like we know, like he can kind of be an old curmudgeon, if you will, from time to time. But for him just to have that recruiting question, we already heard Kirby Smart give an answer to that. So the other coaches kind of could have had a sense that something like that was going to come up. And then to have Dan Mullen just go straight in and be like, hey, I don't like this question. We're going to shut down this availability and nothing else this week.
This was weird, Jill. And I mentioned this to Chad earlier this week. Look at their upcoming schedule. This is a very simple, hey, you know what? We're going to focus on football. We're not worried about recruiting. We're all in. We're not going to shut the media out. Yeah. You've got South Carolina coming up, then Samford, then Missouri, then Florida State. Finish strong, get 8 wins, go into the offseason with some momentum, and now the perception is, and perception is reality, the perception is he's feeling some heat.
Well, you could go, so it all was sparked by this story from The Athletic, right?
You play it off.
you got anonymous coaches, SEC coaches coming out and saying, oh, the guy doesn't recruit, he's not as into it as Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, all this. You could go one of two ways with that if you're Dan Mullen. You could go the jovial, this doesn't bother me route, make little sarcastic comments, don't let it get under your skin. Instead, he went the route of, now you've pissed me off and I'm not answering your questions because I'm really upset that we aren't as good as we thought. So GTFO, media, everyone, and I'm not going to do it. And my players aren't going to answer questions about it too. It's a bad look. He did this sometimes at Mississippi State. Yep. He can be sort of an eccentric guy at times. I'm trying to think of the polite way of saying it. This is Dan Mullen at his eccentric, chip on a shoulder type mode, and it's not a great look for Florida. And honestly, when he says we're worried about the games right now, we'll handle recruiting during recruiting season, that confirms everything in that report about Dan Mullen and his lack of interest in recruiting compared to Kirby Smart and Nick Saban, who we see it around here at Alabama, recruiting never ends.
You see that with great football, basketball coaches. They understand, like when Sean Miller was at Arizona, basketball coach, he understood. I knew I had to ask him one question at halftime when I was with the Pac-12 Network, and he would take that opportunity and run with it because he's like, this is my time to get my message out for my program, even if it's only 60 seconds at halftime. Like, this is Dan Mullen on a Monday afternoon. All the recruits are watching, like, what you do, how you act, the way that your program is. Not to understand that, like, that's a huge disconnect for a college coach.
See, I would have gone the route of James Franklin, sorry, Jill, post-Iowa, where he comes out and he says, I got a few things to say, and, grabs the sheet of paper and says, here we go. Item 1, and sits down at the press conference and goes line by line and says, here are the recruits we've brought in over the years. Here's where I was last week. Here's where my staff was. Here's how much we care about it. Here are my players and what we did this week. Right. And just dispel everything in that report. But the way he handled it shows me that report's probably true. Everything in there about the softness of Florida.
Not true, we all think it's true now.
Well, even, the most disturbing part about it to me, Hutton, was coaches saying it's a very loose outfit. You watch them in warm-ups. There's no real plan. And something about guys have their shirts untucked and they're wearing weird shirts in warm-ups and walking around and all that. Kids. But I'm thinking that's odd coming from a rival coach, right? Now, granted, you can do this under the guise of anonymity and say whatever you want.
Well, it sounds like a coach under anonymity.
You love Mullen, so
I love Mullen. Right? Well, I mean, I love Mullen and Kiffin. I will defend them to the death. And the idea that some anonymous coach is going to talk trash about Mullen and Grantham is laughable to me because those dudes actually talk trash and put their name behind it with all the assistant coaches across the league. Tennessee plays Florida, and then and you have Grantham that says, you know what, this week's challenge is going to be a little tougher than last week. Direct shot at the balls, right?
Yeah.
But he's out there, he's outspoken in saying that. Across the conference, they're all talking trash when they get the opportunity. Oh, and the looseness of warm-ups, like these assistant coaches that are talking trash are tired of having to drill their own team on how to warm up properly because Saban and everyone else wants them to warm up properly. They're jealous of the fact they don't have to deal with that at Florida.
Do you guys immediately go to trying to guess what coach said what? When I see anonymous reports, I'm like, oh, this is probably Eli Drinkwitz behind this one. I'm not outing Eli. I don't know who said it, but I mean, like, who would say that? Like, because some of them were head coaches saying this to The Athletic about Dan Mullen. And it makes perfect sense. I laugh too, Hutton, at the anonymous coach's quote about Tees, because if you go to the rival, you're going to say the worst possible thing. It's a good program, but I haven't seen anyone get less from more in years.
Chad's a Tennessee fan. Has he said anything nice about Gainesville? No. Of course not.
No, he has not.
I mean, there's nothing nice to be said. I mean, look, I just said nice things about Tuscaloosa because there's nice things to say about Tuscaloosa. There's nothing nice to say about Gainesville.
Innisfree.
You know what really shined a light on just how awful Gainesville is our trip to Jacksonville last week. Because I always thought Jacksonville was terrible, and then I got there, it's not bad. Our experience there was okay. It's not great, but you know what it's not? Gainesville. It's so much
true.
better than Gainesville, and so is Tuscaloosa.
Well, they will not have to worry about anything coming up on the college football playoff rankings there in Gainesville for at least quite some time. But the Georgia Bulldogs, who they faced, obviously were going to be the clear-cut number one in this week's college football playoff rankings that came out. And it's kind of a shakeup that we didn't see coming from Cincinnati, Oklahoma. We debated Oklahoma last week on this show if they were deserving of being one of those top 4 teams, and you were making the case that they were because they hadn't lost a game yet. You look at an Ohio State and Oregon and all those that actually have losses on their schedule. And I guess just start with your initial takeaways from this week's rankings.
Initial takeaway: Cincinnati got screwed.
Yeah.
That's what we learned. All of this is going to shake and work itself out by December the 5th, where if you win, you're in. Ohio State and everyone else that's on the outside looking in, if you win, you're going to work your way in. Cincinnati has no chance of doing that now. And that was the clear-cut message from this. Everything else is window dressing, Chad, because we're going to see Alabama, we think, take on Georgia in the SEC championship. Ohio State will have a chance to face Michigan State, who's currently number 3. Oregon, I don't trust. There will be a team that works its way into number 4 overall. And if number 1 falls, Oregon's out because Georgia's not leaving the top 4. It will all work out except for Cincinnati. They deserve to be in it this week. Even though they will not be in it December 5th, they deserve to be in it this week.
So I think I have 3 takeaways from this. One is, you're right, Cincinnati not welcome.
Yeah.
I mean, the message is clear.
Yeah.
This is a Power 5 tournament and playoff, and Group of 5 teams are not welcome. They can do no more. I don't want to hear about, well, play an SEC schedule. They can't. They're not in the SEC. They can't play an SEC schedule, so forget about it. They've done everything they can for 2 years now. This is not a fluke. This is not a flash in the pan for Luke Fickell in Cincinnati. They can do no more, and they're never going to be there. If they're not in this one, they're never going to be in the top 4. That's sad to see. The other thing is, you talked about Oklahoma. Oklahoma, Wake Forest. If you want to talk about 2 programs that are undefeated, that they're just saying, we don't buy it. And I understand some of it. I think the Oklahoma part of it is more backlash because they're always ranked so highly. You know, they're one of those 3 programs consistently in the playoff since it started. So it's the committee saying, we thought you were going to be great. You haven't looked great. Even though you're undefeated, we're going to penalize you for that. And then with Wake Forest, I think they're saying, and look, they're an underdog today, which we'll get into, against a team that has not been very good this year. But they're just saying, great, you're undefeated. Cute story. You're not going to be close to the top 4 because you're about to lose some games, which may very well happen. But my biggest pet peeve with this committee in the playoff is it's too much about what they expect and how they project teams and what they've done in the past, and not about what's happening right now. And I think Cincinnati lost out in that.
One of the teams that they were looking at, Hutton, I know you're on Lane Train, but you are also a big Sparty fan now. You and Mel Tucker are starting a budding romance over there.
Well,
and getting ready to just go all in with Michigan State.
I love the big play
Hutton does look
ability.
great in green, by the way, just to be clear. That Sparty green really does well with Hutton's eyes.
I love the big play ability of Michigan State. They hit the big play in the passing game when they need to, and then run game-wise, Kenneth Walker. I don't know if he's the Heisman front runner. We can get to that later, but man, is he making a great case, and he's putting Sparty on the map. And Mel Tucker's defense, I can trust their defense week in and week out. That's something that's tangible to me that not a lot of teams have right now. A quality defense that's going to show up week in and week out. Georgia has it. Michigan State has it.
I just think they're just good. I don't think they're a great team. And I think that about Michigan. You know, they played a close game with them. Oregon. I mean, I think there's a lot of teams. This is no knock at Michigan State.
Sure.
You know, they had a close win over Indiana. They had a game that should have lost to Nebraska. Michigan has a game that should have lost to Nebraska too. I think they're a good team. I think you can't penalize them, Hutton, for the same reason as Oklahoma. They found a way to win those games, which is nice. They got another big test today against Purdue, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But I watch all these Big Ten teams outside of Ohio State once they figured out defensive coordinator and defensive play calling and think, you got a bunch of good teams, no real great teams, unlike the SEC where it's 2 great teams, one super great team, one great team, and then everyone else. I look at the Big Ten and think it's Ohio State and then a bunch of good teams, no great teams. And I think Michigan State falls in that category, even though Kenneth Walker is a guy who's going to get a lot of Heisman consideration. I don't want to ruin Jill's poll, so we'll wait on the poll question for later.
It's scheduled.
I don't want to scoop
scheduled.
the rundown, so let's keep it going.
You have a thing with this, with scooping the rundown.
Well, I have a thing with not being left out of the poll question. So it's now 1 week on, 1 week off. So hopefully next week I'll have some say in that.
You will. You will. Right here. Done. It's official now. It'll happen. We are in Tuscaloosa, and it is no surprise, guys, that when you look at the top 4 teams in the college football playoff rankings, they are all either Nick Saban or Nick Saban disciples. From that 2015 Alabama staff, Kirby Smart was the defensive coordinator, Nick Saban obviously the head coach. Mel Tucker was the secondary coach, and Mario Cristobal was the offensive line coach for that team. And those are the 4 coaches at the top. Mel Tucker, by the way, he'll tell you that he's been hired by Nick Saban 3 times. It's one of his good recruiting points for everybody coming in.
Twice, get after him.
So next question.
Yeah.
Right. It's remarkable. It speaks to Nick Saban's greatness. Obviously, this was, go back and look at Bear Bryant's coaching tree and all of the head coaches that he spawned on his staff. It's the exact same with Saban. And what's remarkable about it is that we joke about the Nick Saban coaching rehabilitation program with Lane Kiffin and Steve Sarkisian, and the list goes on. Bill O'Brien now is the next guy. Bill O'Brien is being mentioned at Penn State if James Franklin leaves. Nebraska gets fired. Whoever he brings in is the next guy to get the big head coaching job. And again, it's just another testament to the greatness of Nick Saban.
Also, it's a testament to the fact that there is no more splash hire in college football. What's a big hire anymore? An assistant coach? Great. Like, there's no just win the press conference guy out there.
Right.
Mel Tucker at LSU is going to win the press conference?
Well,
that's a big hire.
Also, when you hire a Saban assistant, it really goes one of 2 extreme ways, right? Ask Tennessee. Jeremy Pruitt.
Well,
Derek Dooley, you can go that route and it works out the way of those guys. Now there's Jimbo Fisher, there's Mel Tucker, there's other guys, Kirby Smart, who've done well. But when it doesn't make perfect sense, and I'm going to go with Kirby Smart here, that was a no-brainer. The guy played safety at Georgia. He was a great recruiter, a great defensive coordinator. You knew, okay, this guy's going to go in there and recruit at a high level at Georgia. And if you recruit the way you should at Georgia, you're going to be a national contender. And that's exactly what he's done.
Yeah.
And he's probably about to win a national title if they don't choke, like Georgia's been known to do in the past. If they don't, they're going to win a national title. But when you start hiring these other Saban assistants, it's really a 50-50 proposition. Like most coaching hires, it's not unlike anything else, but I guess buyer beware when it comes to the Nick Saban coaching tree.
We're going to get to picks against the spread later in the show, but FanDuel has updated odds for college football playoff rankings here. The teams that FanDuel actually thinks is going to make it, Georgia, obviously a runaway favorite, but the next 3 in line is Oklahoma, Alabama, and Ohio State. The usual suspects are the next in line.
Well, I mean, this is no surprise, right? This is... I'm probably going to rant a little bit today about this, but the college football playoff is ruining college football because these are the teams every year. So the BCS was better. The BCS was better about cycling through different programs to play in that game. We have created a system. By we, I am.
We are the playoff committee.
I have an announcement to make. I am college football now. By we, I mean college football has created a system.
He is NIL.
Where there really are the haves. There are the have-haves, the haves, and the have-nots. And the have-haves are the programs that go every year. Alabama, Ohio State, Oklahoma, throw Georgia probably in the mix now too. And there's everyone else. And I don't know what you sell if you're these other programs other than, hey, come help us become a have-have. We're a have. We want to be a have-have. Help us do that. And you're selling that against Nick Saban and Kirby Smart and Lincoln Riley and Ryan Day, who says, we are going to the playoff 3 out of the 4 years you were here. That is going to happen. Statistically, it's going to happen. I don't know how you recruit against that, and this is the system that we've created.
Well, you recruit against that because now, within 3 years, we're going to see 12 teams in the college football playoff, which is vastly better than the system we have now, and it's better than the BCS. The BCS, as of today, before kickoff, would have Georgia playing Cincinnati for the national championship. They announced that earlier. That game would suck. That game would suck.
Yeah,
I don't want to watch that game.
Right now, it almost is one of the games that we should be talking about, though.
Well, but it's not the game that's going to garner the most attention at the end of 12 teams. Right, a playoff. So I can't wait for the 12-team playoff to come into fruition. But so you can say, like, hey, you can recruit multiple games, and you still get the same teams at the end of the day. The 4-team playoff, the semifinal games are blowouts. Like, ultimately, they get the top 2 teams right. These coaches need to earn their money. That's my response to them. Make your millions and earn it. They're not doing that.
It's just amazing to me, though, because you're right. All these coaches are making so much. We like to play the game of who makes more, this NFL coach or Eli Drinkwitz. And you're gonna be amazed by how much money Eli Drinkwitz makes to not be good right now at Missouri.
37
compared to NFL
college coaches make more than the bottom 10 paid head coaches in the NFL. That is ridiculous.
But it's crazy. Everyone is seeking a national title. That is the goal for every team.
Are they?
No. But that's what I say when I take a job and I go to the podium. I'm here to win a national title or a conference title. But the bottom line is you're really getting paid to do whatever your expectation is. Mark Stoops isn't getting paid at Kentucky to go win a damn national title.
Exactly.
He's getting paid to win 8 or 9 games. Yeah. And if they do that,
he
will have a job forever. They're going to win what? 9 or 10 games this year based on tonight against Tennessee. That's a great year at Kentucky. It could be really, really great if they beat Tennessee. If they lose, not as great, but doesn't matter. Mark Stoops is getting paid millions to do that. If you're Alabama or you're Georgia or you're Ohio State or you're Oklahoma, you are getting paid millions to go to the playoffs. No one is seeking the same goal. They're all seeking some level of success that varies.
Based on their campus.
Program to program. I'll give you a great example. Dave Clawson is now getting rumored at USC. I think that'd be a really interesting hire for USC with what he's done at first off Richmond at a different level, Bowling Green, now Wake Forest, good offensive mind. He goes to USC. Do you think he's getting paid millions to do the same thing at USC as he was at Wake Forest? No, because USC sees themselves as, we can be the power on the West Coast. We can get in that mix of every year being in the playoffs or being right there. That's just not the case at Wake Forest. We see that with their undefeated record and the fact they're, 8th right now in the playoff rankings.
Either way they win because they get a $40 million buyout or whatever it's going to be, right?
It's brilliant.
It's nuts.
I love that
great business.
The playoff committee expansion team met this week, and they decided that they were going to meet again later. The meeting, it feels like a Seinfeld episode, right? Like when you look at it and they're like, we have all come together, we are going to discuss this topic, and we are now going to come back later to make a decision. They want
ESPN out of it.
Exactly.
And the big dogs making the calls can't guarantee that ESPN's out of it. So no one's going to vote in their favor. They're going to use everything they can until they have a little bit of power. A little bit of power in the vote.
You have some strong feelings on this.
I do. I love, by the way, let's just put a pin in it, guys. Yeah. Look, we had a nice meeting. Let's put a pin in that. We'll get back to it.
We all had some nice hotel stays. We had some drinks together. It was great.
They're going to push this through because of the money involved.
Yeah. I don't want to hear from ESPN talking heads about their problems with the playoff rankings ever again, because they are the problem. Go ask the Big 12 who the damn problem is. It's ESPN. There's no way around it. If they want to sit there and complain about, Cincinnati doesn't have a chance, it's because you don't want Cincinnati there. You are the ones pulling the strings. You are involved with so much money with college football in this playoff. They are going to ESPN for everything. They are part of this problem with the playoff and the reason we get the same teams every single year. People may see this and say, you're making excuses, you're complaining, everyone else should coach better. Great. That's not the case. This is not reality. The reality is money drives the sport. ESPN has the money. ESPN pays the money. And then ESPN puts on shows complaining about the playoff rankings after they come out. They're the reason the rankings are what they are. So I don't want to hear from ESPN people about their problems with it because it's their playoff. This is their creation. They are the ones funding this operation.
It's the reality show.
It's theirs.
It's a full circle.
Own it.
There's a lot of money that exchanges hands in that circle, and they sell a lot of advertising off of it. So,
look,
congratulations to them.
I'm not begrudging them for spending 80% of their time talking Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Oklahoma, because they make the money, and they make the money for it. They get the eyeballs. It's the reason we're here at Alabama today when they're a 30-point favorite, because Alabama brings eyeballs. I get it. I'm not naive to the way the business works and everything else, but don't create this system and then come back and complain about Cincinnati. I just feel so bad for those guys. Cincinnati's not there because of you. It is you that has created this, and that's the reason they're not there. No other reason.
The reason that Clay Travis will not be here this week, no, I'm just kidding. He's actually here. Last week he was on a boat. We had to wait like 20 minutes for Clay. He just walked off. But this week, I promise you, coming up next here on OutKick the Tailgate, Clay Travis will be joining us. He can't wander off that far this week. So Clay will join us when we come back.
Clear?
They're on this shot as a
There's never been a more challenging time to be an investor. Your stock markets are overvalued by every measure with record low cap rates. Cryptocurrency can go from boom to bust overnight, and inflation is making everything hard to predict. Wouldn't it be nice if you could just sit back and watch your money grow? That's where Farm Folio comes in. Farmland ownership made easy. Farmland's an asset class that's often overlooked, but it's one that's consistently delivered higher returns than other investments with significantly less volatility. You can buy a farm lot from Farm Folio, and we'll manage every aspect of your farm property, from crop care, harvesting, and sales of your produce through our company-owned packing facilities and international sales offices. With Farm Folio, farmland ownership has never been easier. Simply sit back and enjoy the fruits of our labor. Farm Folio, you own, we farm, you
OutKick The Tailgate, presented by Farm Folio. We are live from Innisfree, and Clay Travis joins us now. And guys, we did this all last night. We weren't live from Innisfree, but we were hanging out at Innisfree for quite some time. So Clay, thanks for joining us. We were live. We just didn't do this with all of you.
It's kind of cold. I'm gonna get back on the bus.
Who gets an iced coffee like a psychopath when it's 40 degrees outside?
I don't do warm coffee. Warm coffee would make me want to curl up in bed and go back to sleep. So it's like
that's kind of the vibe right now.
Clay has like 17 shows he has to do. He can't go back to bed.
I've got to be able to go. Yeah, I don't stop working. 24 hours a day.
So when it's 40 degrees, you go iced coffee just to wake up the senses a little bit to make yourself even more cold.
I'm gonna go as soon as I finish this right back on the heated bus.
Yeah.
And you guys can stay out here. I think we're the only people awake in all of Tuscaloosa right now.
Sure.
This place was funny.
Look around.
They said
there's actually someone asleep inside here right now. I'm pretty sure on the floor.
No. I mean, they said when we were here for the Ole Miss Alabama game, they finished. The last person left here at 5 a.m. The guy just laid down on one of the bars, and then our crew came and knocked on the thing at 5:30, and he was here to let them in. So the game's not till 6. And I mean, you guys were out later than I was, but I mean, it was it was an absolute, what's the word that I'm looking for? It was an absolute
It was a carnival.
Yeah, carnival of excess going on last night.
Last night was the first night that we walked by this bus, and it's parked right here at Innisfree, and I thought, you know what, this might be the night that I just sleep on the bus because it's right so there. The proximity of it last night was
multiple times.
So
She's like, can I just
enticing.
Go to sleep on the bus
Listen,
right now?
if I didn't have context, it might have
This would
happened.
be great. Just wake up and roll right over.
The bus is super nice. Have we told the story about the first bus break?
Not yet. Let's do that now. Let's take this opportunity.
Should we tease that until the very last show just to continue?
The first bus that we had, I think it was when it left here. It was somewhere in Mississippi. My phone blew up. And people are like, which is nice. People are like, hey, man, your bus is on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere in Mississippi. They were like, and all these people in Mississippi were like DMing me, like, hey, man, do you need help?
You live on that bus full
time? Credit
everything.
to all the people in Mississippi who were like thinking about trying to help me out or whatever. But I was just, I went into, I don't usually read my DMs, but I scrolled through and I saw 8 or 9 in a row that were like, hey man, do you need help? And I was like, well, what happened? What did I do? What somebody threatened to kill me or what happened?
I love the idea of people thinking that you're actually,
they thought I was
Clay sold his mansion and his multiple beach homes to go live on this bus and just goes from
I was
city
living
to
on,
city.
that they thought I was on the bus and they were like, do you need me to help? You need a lift somewhere? So the bus broke down on the side of the road in Mississippi. I have no idea what this cost, but then they towed the bus all the way from Mississippi to College Station. So when the bus was being towed, people were taking photos of the bus being towed all over the South with my picture on the side
and
of
your
it.
haters were like, this is Clay Travis summed up, and it's your bus being towed down the interstate to Texas.
And then somebody sent me a video from the A&M practice. They were up on the crane or whatever at A&M practice, and they were like, man, is the bus okay? And it was just getting towed into the parking lot. And so we got a new bus, and the new bus is way better than the old bus.
Superior.
Infinitely better, brand new. I have no idea how that works. They had to rewrap a new bus, and they put the new bus on the road. Now, if this bus breaks down, then there's some sort of karmic disaster.
It's a terrific bus. It's so nice that Jill wants to live on it. And
Trip, how many hours did you
Clay
sleep?
lives on also.
How many hours did you sleep last night, Trip?
I left here about 2
Owner
and got up at 6.
Owner
Okay.
of Innisfree.
Yes.
Trip
Same as
Rogers.
us.
Morning.
They're the same as us.
He left here at 2 a.m.
Clay, I really want you to now move on the bus and go from SEC town to SEC town. There's a great story.
I've actually never been on the bus while it's been moving.
Well,
ever.
It's
stationary
it's only been parked.
We need to do that for one trip.
Yeah.
I was going to see if they will drive me to I was going to ask the bus driver if he'll drive me to or pick me up because we're going from Ole Miss is the week before Thanksgiving, and I'm going from Ole Miss down to the beach in Florida, And so I was going to
Which
see.
home?
To one of your many beach homes and also the bus.
Yeah.
Clay lives on the bus and the beach home.
Well, I was going to see if they'll drive me to the beach home.
There was a funny story from Matt Damon one time on one of these late night shows where he said he's always asked about how Ben Affleck is doing. And he's like, it's like people think that we're riding around on a tandem bicycle. Like I'm always with Ben Affleck because we grew up together. You should just go ahead and live on the bus now that people already believe that.
Well, the bus doesn't have a shower. Otherwise, I think the bus would be a pretty good place to live. Because you could turn the back of this new bus into a really nice, like, kind of king-size bed in the back. And when it's parked, it really kind of, we've got like 5 televisions on that thing. That's what I was thinking, because otherwise I'm driving my boys, and the 2 youngest are going to be, they're old enough now where it's not a disaster to drive. But if I had 5 televisions for us to watch games on a Saturday, that would be kind of an awesome way, because it's, 6 or 7 hour drive from Oxford at best all the way down to the beach. So and then we got to come back up for the Iron Bowl for Auburn. They're hosting the Iron Bowl this year, the 2 days after Thanksgiving.
Clay, so it's my opinion. We were just talking about the college football playoff rankings. It's my opinion that ESPN talking heads should never complain about the college football playoff rankings because they are the reason for the rankings. It's weird when it's their money and they're funding it and they have the rights to it, and then they come on and say, I can't believe that Cincinnati's getting hosed. They don't have a chance. And I'm thinking, you helped create this structure where Cincinnati is not welcome in their playoff. This is a Power 5 playoff, and Group of 5 teams aren't welcome. They never will be.
I just think it's funny that the argument is about what other people like. There's nothing else like college football where you argue about other people's opinions of teams.
Yes.
Right? Like nothing else. Nobody's like, hey, it's the end of the year. Let's pick the 4 teams that we think are the best in the NFL, and we'll let them play for a Super Bowl title, right? Like, or any sport, right? You're like, hey, we watched the whole season in the NBA and Major League Baseball. Let's just have 13 random people vote on who they think the 4 best teams are, and then we'll let them play for a championship. I mean, it's really insane that kind of situation exists. And you can say, well, they have that in the NCAA tournament. Yeah, but it's 68 teams. Like, if you're the 69th team or the 70th team, it's like, okay, it's hard to argue that you are being somehow horribly wronged. Whereas if you're the 5th best team, and that's why I think we're going to go to 12. And I think Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, is going to ultimately get his way. And 12, I think, will cure that a little bit, because there won't be, in my mind, any suggestion. If you can't get in the top 12, you really don't deserve to play for a championship, in my mind.
What is the holdup now with the 12? I know there was some delay because of Oklahoma and Texas.
Yeah,
and the Alliance getting upset about that.
Yeah, the Big 12, Big 10, and the Pac-12 are upset about Oklahoma and Texas to the SEC, even though they all would take Oklahoma and Texas to their conferences.
Tried to already.
Yeah, right. So I think ultimately they're going to sit back, because they're now arguing, well, we only want 8. But I think Greg Sankey got it right on 12. And I think ultimately the number is going to end up 12 because, look, I mean, the SEC is going to think when they get Texas and Oklahoma, hey, we're going to get 3 or 4 teams into the college football playoff every year. And instead of going with 8 and giving all the automatic bids to the conference champs and all that stuff, I think 12 is going to be the right number.
It's going to be pretty amazing, though, when you think about percentage-wise. I'm with you, Clay. 25% of the SEC is going to be in the college football playoff.
Yes.
I think regularly, and I think you're going to have years where there could be 5.
Yeah.
5 or half the field could be SEC.
And there's going to start to be an argument. I think this is the challenge with the conference title games in general. And we're going to be in Atlanta, which will be fun to finish off the SEC season this year. But to me, the challenge is, as you kind of break that down, you might have an advantage not making the SEC championship game, right?
Yeah,
if you're one of the teams, now you can say, well, you want to be seeded, 1 or 2 or whatever, and I guess that would be an advantage. But not having to play a big, physical, tough SEC championship game before you roll into a 12 team.
Congratulations on being awake, guys.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yes.
These are the first 2 people awake in all of Tuscaloosa right now,
Yes.
entering
They haven't
Innisfree.
gone to sleep.
We woke up this early for a 6 p.m. game. Is it 6 or 7? 6 Central,
6
right?
p.m.
I don't know
Yeah,
what time
6
zone
p.m.
we're in.
Central.
And they just woke up too. So congratulations to them.
This is the first people in the bar.
They
Yes.
are.
Yeah.
That's a good feeling.
You should get a free tab.
8:44 a.m. local time. That's
First
a
people in the
good
bar.
turnout.
I'm gonna talk to Tripp, who owns this joint, later. I'm gonna petition for that couple to receive a free tab just for walking into the bar at 8:44 a.m.
It's
impressive.
It is an impressive show up. I mean, the amount of partying and fun, and like we were last night at Innisfree, and I think it's a little bit representative of the vibe that you can find, because there were all ages last night out late, right?
Moms
like
and
we were watching
partying in the bar,
moms
like
and
together.
yeah.
We're like, oh, it's a
Moms
full
that-
family.
I've never seen a college bar that represented that many different groups of people.
Well,
there were grandparents, parents, college kids, all ages.
No, it's fantastic, and there's a group of probably like 5 guys a little bit to the side of us, and I looked over, and they had ordered Irish car bombs, and I was like, those guys
He looked
are
at me
living.
and said, these guys are living their best life.
They're
right
living
now.
their best life right now. If you had made me bet, like, hey, what's the next order out of that table going to be? Irish car bombs for like a tray of Irish car bombs for 5 65 to 70-year-olds. I would have put a lot of money on it not being Irish car bombs.
I'm also laughing, thinking we're part of that group that's well represented. You know, we're also there too in this college bar, and we weren't out of place because it was all ages.
Yeah, no, it was an awesome
Alabama
time.
is so different, Clay, when you walk around this town, because the expectation of success and just knowing how great this program is, it's unlike any other vibe anywhere else you go, because there's no pin-up frustration. It's just the understanding that you have Nick Saban and you're going to have a chance to win a national title every year. It's so different.
I don't think it's talked enough about. Like, look, it's good to be good at football. Like, I wish, my team's always won football games, and certainly I've had plenty of time to deal with abject defeat over the last, generation or so, since the Titans were in the Super Bowl and since University of Tennessee won the national title, which, by the way, in retrospect, was such an insane embarrassment of riches to have happen bang bang like that.
Yes.
I'm not sure the Titans will ever be in the Super Bowl again in my
Braves,
life.
Though.
Did you? Well,
Braves.
Well,
right here.
But I'm
Clay's new on the Braves
I know,
train, but
listen.
he's with us now.
But he's full in because
He's one of
Lincoln's
us.
all in.
I'm
his son.
now a Braves fan, so that
Yeah.
was great. But I don't think there's enough talk about the monster impact of Nick Saban on the University of Alabama, not football team. When the University of Alabama, when Nick Saban came in 2007, was sort of a sleepy Southern school that you went to if you were a decent student in the state of Alabama, right? Now, over half of the enrollment at the University of Alabama is out of state. Many of those people paying out of state tuition. The overall enrollment at the University of Alabama, I think, has either doubled or tripled since Nick Saban started here. And the amount of billions with a B, that has come rolling in, I think is directly attributable to how good their football program is, because it is such an incredible advertisement for people all over the country to come down here. And so, if you look around and meet University of Alabama students, they're from all over the country. And the university has become an almost elite level state school, almost entirely predicated on Nick Saban's impact. So for everybody out there who says, Nick Saban's making $9 or $10 million a year, whatever else, Nick Saban is, I believe, the most underpaid, incredibly talented person. Nick Saban should be making $50 million a year. Because
he's underpaid.
You want Nick Saban to be president. You think he may be wasted.
I've said before, my concern is that we have wasted Nick Saban's talents on football. In the same way,
everyone who's not an Alabama fan agrees with you, because they're saying we've wasted Nick Saban on Alabama.
Just think about
Come to
it.
our school.
Just think about if Abraham Lincoln had been a really good basketball coach. You'd be like, okay, like it's great. Won a couple of national championships playing basketball, but maybe we could have used Lincoln to heal the country and win the Civil War. Like, I feel like Saban, I feel like in some part of Saban has to be sitting around sometimes thinking that, like, as excellent as he is at football, I really do think you could apply his process to many different things. He's best friends with Joe Manchin, who is they grew up together, the West Virginia senator, who is basically the default president right now, right? Like, he's controlling what is going to happen with Joe Biden's agenda in the Senate. And he's a moderate Democrat from West Virginia. But when I think about Manchin and Saban being buddies, a part of me thinks, I mean, is there anybody out there right now? If you had like, hey, Nick Saban can be president or Joe Biden can be president, I mean, I would go Nick Saban in a heartbeat. Can you imagine Joe Biden trying to coach a football game? I mean, the guy can't even respond to questions in a press
I
conference.
see him going for it on 4th and 11
I
a
would-
lot. For
I
some
would-
reason, just like to keep the offense up on the field.
Whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, or hate politics, if you had to choose Nick Saban or Joe Biden to be president for the next 3 years, I would go Nick Saban in a
Nick
heartbeat.
Saban would turn the government into like the Chick-fil-A line. It would be that efficient.
So much more efficient. And I also think, he would look at rational data. And I like people, and this may be partly me too, but I like people who are comfortable being dickheads and not worried about what everybody else thinks about them. And so, there's so many politicians who seem to me to be like really insecure, like, oh, what do people think? I better check the polls. I mean, like, I don't care. Just like tell me what you think the best outcome is. And if you're brusque or you're a little bit of a jerk or like Nick Saban is in virtually every interview he does, it's because he doesn't suffer fools lightly because he's really good at what he does. You've done a lot of those halftime interviews. Like sometimes Nick Saban is a jerk in those interviews, but it's like, hey, I'm really good at this. I want to get to the locker room and, get my team better in the second half. And I kind of feel like that's what we need for the country. We need like a, coach who's like, all right, we've screwed up a lot of things in the last, the last decade or so. Let's just get in the locker room and let's redo this. Let's come up with a better game plan.
I'm laughing, Clay, as you say this because there's like 3 Clay Travis parody accounts right now that's tweeting us at this point, and you're talking about not caring about people hating you. And then I look at this and I'm thinking, these people are commenting on everything on this show. They are sitting there watching this show behind a Clay Travis parody account.
I woke up in
Like,
Tuscaloosa.
how miserable is your life if you hate something so much that you have to consume everything that person does and then comment on it? Like, what a weird place to be in.
I've never really understood that in general, right? Like Howard Stern talks about when they did the data, the people who hated Howard Stern the most listened to him more than the people who loved him, twice as much. And, maybe I'm unique in this, but first of all, I don't really kind of pay attention to a lot of the noise. But also, if your hate makes me richer, like how are you in any way hurting me? Right? Like, I mean, if just think about that. Like, how many other businesses are there where somebody hating you can make you fabulously wealthy? Like, it's such a strange dynamic that it could ever happen. I remember Stern talking about it too. Like, people would sit around and they'd be like, oh my God, he was talking about the people who would always constantly be filing FCC complaints. This is before Howard Stern became a total wuss and, basically became everything that he hated by being like mainstream and a sheep. But it's interesting, like, I've never really understood that. I've had that conversation with Paul Feinbaum too, because when he did his show in Alabama, he had a great local radio show, Birmingham, and the data reflected the same thing about Feinbaum back in the day. I used to go on as a guest, and everybody would say they hated him, but everybody listened, and I've just never understood that. That happened, remember, in Nashville, because I think I was probably, I mean, you guys would know better than me because you were working at the station already and kind of doing it, but I think I was probably the first person who did Nashville sports talk radio who was hateable in any way.
I received hate mail.
Yeah.
Emails.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
and
calls.
And like they would get nervous about that. I remember having a meeting where they came in and they said, hey, just so you know, you said the word penis on the radio a bunch of times, and now we're worried that ratings are going to be impacted. I was like, just trust me on this.
This was the
Drastically
Brett Favre
up.
picture.
Just trust me on this.
Just trust me on this. Well, the ratings are going to go up because, and this is just success in general, most people, when they have a little bit of success, they worry about losing the success that they have. I might be a little bit unique in that when I have a little bit of success, I just push more chips in the table, right? And so I remember having that conversation with the station director at the time, and I said, he's like, man, this is really going to hurt us when the ratings come out. I said, first of all, I think you're wrong, and I think more people are going to listen because they're going to want to know what's said from one moment to the next. But I said, we talk a lot at the station about not losing what we have.
how come we never talk about trying to get more than what we have? And that's just, to me, an interesting dynamic. I've never been the person who's like, okay, I've got $1 in my hand. I've got to make sure that I never lose this dollar. I'm always like, all right, let's try to figure out how to turn that dollar into $3 or $4, you know? And that's how I guess you end up with a bus, your picture on the side of a bus.
Second bus.
Second,
Yeah, the first one broke down. You've had 2 buses now.
This is the higher end bus, and hopefully this one doesn't break down too. So we're talking, you can see the Farm Folio ads in front of us, and I think I'm going to come on and talk with you guys in a little bit more with some of the Farm Folio guys. But it's interesting, the stock market's at an all-time high, and inflation is at the highest level that it's been in 30 years. And so if you really break down what's going on, there are a lot of people out there trying to figure out, hey, what do I do to make smart financial decisions for me and my family? And one of the smartest financial decisions you can make historically is farmland. When my grandfather retired back in the 1960s, he moved to West Tennessee. He worked in DuPont, factory worker his entire life, 8th grade dropout from coal country in Kentucky. And he wanted to have some security. And so he moved to West Tennessee and bought a farm. And he said he felt like at the time that inflation was on its way, and he wanted to have a hedge against inflation. He was right. Jimmy Carter came in, inflation took off in the 70s. He had a lot of great common sense and business sense, even though he only had an 8th grade education. And a lot of people out there are making the same decision right now that he was making then, with inflation roaring, with stock market at all-time highs, with tax increases coming as a result. You should get invested in farmland too. Do what I've done. I've got farmland as part of my portfolio. You can too. Go to farmfolio.net/clay. That's farmfolio.net/clay. Check and see whether it can make a lot of sense for you as well to do what I've done and invest part of your assets in farmland as a good hedge against inflation.
And Farm Folio, big Bama fans.
Huge
Bama fans.
As if they didn't have enough going for them. They own thousands of acres of land that they're killing it with, and their team never loses.
They go to practice, and they actually helped us get some autographed Nick Saban here that we are going to be giving away later today on this show. We have multiple items. We asked for like a very little.
To the couple
and yeah, right.
Congratulations, you're awake. Here's a Nick Saban autographed helmet.
I'll be on Big Noon starts in about, it starts in like 10 minutes, I think. Or 5 minutes, but they're 4 minutes.
Math.
But I'll be on.
I just want to keep giving numbers. Sorry.
I'll be on at right before 10 o'clock Central and right before 11 o'clock Central. So,
3 minutes.
Like you said, you're going to be back with us again. But until then, go warm up on the bus. We will hold it down here.
Yes.
We'll freeze, and Clay will go ahead and warm up.
I gave you my belt in one of these. Can I take your jacket at some point? I feel like that's
it's a good trade-off.
Not a bad trade.
That's not a bad trade.
You can have the jacket because I'm going back on the heated bus.
OutKick the Tailgate, hour number 2. Hang with us. Coming up next.
There's never been a more challenging time to be an investor. Your stock markets are overvalued by every measure with record low cap rates. Cryptocurrency can go from boom to bust overnight, and inflation is making everything hard to predict. Wouldn't it be nice if you could just sit back and watch your money grow? That's where Farm Folio comes in. Farmland ownership made easy. Farmland's an asset class that's often overlooked, but it's one that's consistently delivered higher returns than other investments with significantly less volatility. You can buy a farm lot from Farm Folio, and we'll manage every aspect of your farm property, from crop care, harvesting, and sales of your produce through our company-owned packing facilities and international sales offices. With Farm Folio, farmland ownership has never been easier. Simply sit back and enjoy the fruits of our labor. Farm Folio, you own, we farm, you
OutKick The Tailgate, presented by Farm Folio. Hour number 2, guys. Hour number 2, slightly colder than hour number 1, live from Innisfree in Tuscaloosa. Excited to be here. We're really excited. I mean, again, great night last night here at Innisfree. But if we could just crank up the heat a little bit outside, that'd be ideal.
I know I should probably be like selling this and telling people to come
Go ahead,
out
Jeff.
and
Sell
be
this.
with us outside.
Yeah.
But I don't know why anyone would be outside right now.
But they can
I'm
go
going to be
in-
completely
they can go
honest with our
inside.
audience. I feel like they like our honesty. It is freezing. And somehow it's gone from 41
found the one shadow.
to 28, and there's some moron running in shorts and a
shorts.
t-shirt right now.
Shorts.
What is that guy doing?
Well, he's
we saw the
running.
2
He's
people in the
moving.
bar earlier. This guy's running in shorts and a t-shirt. It is freezing.
He's trying to sweat out the alcohol from last night.
Yeah.
He's working it off.
But guys,
Smart man.
it is now time for Farm Folio fact or fiction. Maybe this will warm us up, maybe it won't, but it's worth a shot. Hutton, we already talked about your love for Michigan State. They are going to lead off fact or fiction. Their running back Kenneth Walker is the front runner for the Heisman Trophy race. Will you say that is fact or fiction? Big 5 touchdown game last week.
This is fiction. I think Bryce Young is the Heisman front runner as of today, based on the numbers and based on the fact that I don't think Alabama is going to lose until the SEC championship game. I think Michigan State falls off. Could be today. Could happen today against Purdue. I would say fiction. He's close. He's not the front runner.
I hate to have actual facts get in the way of good opinions on this,
Listen.
but it's fiction because I'm looking at the odds right now, and Bryce Young is plus 190. Kenneth Walker's 4th at plus 500 at FanDuel with the odds to win the Heisman Trophy. Now, I will say it should be fact. I think Kenneth Walker should be the Heisman frontrunner right now, but guys, we all know this is an award that typically goes to the best player on the best team or one of the best teams. And right now, when you look at the list, it's Bryce Young, who's
It's Bryce
number
Young
2 in
now.
the playoff rankings and a great
We
quarterback.
should not count out C.J. Stroud. He has some big stage moments coming up for Ohio State, and they're going to be back in the playoff mix.
I'm totally with you. I'm excited to actually watch Ohio State down the stretch. That's one of the teams that I definitely have circled on
Isn't
my
it
list.
crazy though with Ohio State? They lost early to Oregon,
Right.
And then they've gone into anonymity where they are just stomping people out. They haven't played anyone since then, but they continue to climb because they figured things out. They got the best offense in the country,
Yeah.
and Hutton's right. We're about to start seeing more. They've got Michigan State, obviously the last game of the year with Michigan.
Yep.
They've got all these big games starting last week with Penn State. That's where we're going to find out a lot more about
the committee
Ohio State.
validated them this week by granting Oregon that 4th spot because Oregon is valued by the committee because of their win over the great Ohio State.
They liked the wins. They didn't take into account a lot of the losses.
Right.
And we can dive all into that. Dan Dakich is going to join us. I have a feeling that he will want to get into a lot of this as well. But next up, Lane Train. So it's like a Hutton fact or fiction. It's just we're going in his wheelhouse right now. I did this because I sent you a text about this one. And it was Lane Kiffin needs to drop the analytics and kick field goals on 4th down. I was like, we love Lane Train. But at some point, we were here at the game, Ole Miss, Alabama. They went for it, and then they, went for it again on the 5-yard line and turned it over on downs. And it's just something that we see over and over and over again.
I don't question Kiffin on offense. The guy knows offense. I question it was stupidity late in the first half against Alabama because they went for it and failed so early that the failed 4th downs got them out of it. But I don't disagree with the fact that you have to be aggressive against Alabama. Just this past week, they're trailing late. You got to go for it because he knows he's going to need a touchdown. The defense isn't stopping anyone at Ole Miss. I think that plays a factor in light of thinking there and being aggressive offensively.
It's fiction because this is what I want from Lane Kiffin. I don't think it's analytics. I think it's Lane Kiffin having a feel for the game and knowing what his team needs.
They say the
and what his
analytics guy is
offense
standing
needs.
right behind him telling him.
It's yes and no that it's analytics.
Right.
Well, okay, then I'll say fiction with this caveat. I want Lane Kiffin making the call.
Yeah.
Like, he's the type of guy, he's got that natural feel for play calling. He knows what his team needs. Drop the analytics guy and go for it if you want to. But I want Lane Kiffin making those bold, daring calls because that's how Ole Miss is where they are right now. It's that go-for-it mentality, and I think that plays well with his players.
There are more and more teams that are going for it on 4th down, not just Kiffin.
Joey Freshwater, a big fan of Innisfree
Yes.
as well.
As for the tour.
I'm going to be talking about that soon. And maybe even enjoying one of the cocktails that Joey Freshwater may have enjoyed at Innisfree.
I wrote this one. This one's more geared towards me. The mediocre Pac-12 will ultimately keep the Ducks out of the college football playoff. Fact or fiction?
Fact. Sorry, Jill.
No,
Miss Pac-12 over here is not going to like this.
I am. I'm in
Oregon's
agreement.
got Washington tonight, and really they've got some trap games coming up, but trap games don't help your street cred when it comes to college football playoff rankings. So I think the Pac-12 is really going to hurt Oregon. That's a great win that they have at Ohio State, no doubt about it. That's going to carry them to 4 where they are right now. But I think with some of the opportunities with teams around them, they're going to get past.
They're going to get past because it's not the Pac-12 that's going to keep them out. Oregon kept itself out by losing to Stanford. That's why they're going to get they had the ball and the lead late and lost to Stanford. Yep. That's why they're not going to make the college football playoff. It has nothing to do with their conference. They beat Ohio State. That's why they're valued where they are. They're going to get lapped and passed because of their loss, no matter if they win out.
I looked at that Oregon loss to Stanford, and I said, okay, you look at what Ohio State has done since losing to Oregon, which is like, you don't want to say like a quality loss, but it's a decent loss. Oregon losing to Stanford. Stanford is now 3-6 after last night. You know, Utah came in and totally dominated them last night. We were watching the game here, and you see Ohio State just go in and take care of business like a good team should. And Oregon, well, not everybody's going to be aware of this. Cal, horrible. Arizona, horrible. They did not fare well against the bottom of the Pac-12 team. So, yes, again, we look at that Ohio State game, and I feel like this is like the Pac-12 syndrome where that's the only game that people were watching for Oregon, so they get so much credit for that, and the rest of it's just kind of like back in the dust.
You know what's helping Oregon right now? Fresno State, who's in your guy, Jake Haener, the top 25 of the playoff rankings. I mean, that's a quality win.
Yep.
We saw that close win first week of the season and thought, boy, Oregon may not be that good. They're riding the coattails of that win a little bit right now. They've got 2 of those top 25 college football playoff ranking wins.
And the last topic for Fact or Fiction, Scott Frost is finished at Nebraska.
This is a fact. And I want to turn it over to Chad Withrow to tell me how it got to this point, because you can explain this better than anyone. But it's a fact.
I'm going to say fiction right now, only because
They play today.
Yeah, I mean, like it's, you know, they've been so close this year against Oklahoma and Michigan State. I don't think they're going to beat Ohio State.
Yeah.
But if they went out today and upset Ohio State, they're not firing Scott Frost.
That's a big leap.
And here is what I'm going to give you the inside Nebraska take on this. And this is Scott Frost's problem. Don't get me wrong. I'm not making an excuse.
Right, I know.
Their hope is that when Adrian Martinez is gone, they can do something. It is on Scott Frost for not recruiting over Adrian Martinez. And the kid is a wonderful kid. Everything I hear about him, great. He makes some plays at times. He makes losing plays. It's the bottom line with Adrian Martinez. When it's close, he will screw it up.
You expect
that
to
has
happen.
been his track record.
Yes.
You know it's going to happen.
It'll happen today.
It's going to be an inexplicable play. When they have a chance, he'll look great, and then he'll lose the game in the end. And that's been his track record at Nebraska. That is Scott Frost's problem for not recruiting over him, for not replacing him. But I'm going to say fiction because they've been so close. If they get over the hump, in one of these, if they beat Iowa at the end of the year, if they beat Ohio State today, I think Nebraska's going to look for every reason to keep Scott Frost. But here's the problem, guys. If they fire Scott Frost, think of what that's saying. That was the no-brainer, surefire hire. This was a guy who won big at UCF. This was the homecoming. He is from Wood River, Nebraska. He won a national title. He was coming home. He knew the program. He knew the area. He knew the culture. And he's flopped.
Yeah.
So
If
where
not
do you
him,
go?
then who?
I'm not saying that Nebraska is just going to put the boards over the windows and close up shop and stop playing football. But where do you go next? I saw Andy Staples, who I really enjoy reading, wrote this week that they should look at Alex Grinch, who's now the defensive coordinator at Oklahoma, as a guy who's done it at different types of programs and would be a good young up and coming coach to go the coordinator route. that's interesting. But think about the joy in Nebraska when they hired Scott Frost, and then your next coaching hire is Alex Grinch. That's what's going to fix the Scott Frost mess. It's just a weird set of circumstances. So again, I'm going to say fiction because I think Nebraska is still holding out any hope they have that he can do something. And then when Martinez isn't there, maybe they'll start winning.
See, this last year when they went to Luke McCaffrey, I thought, oh, this is the chance that they have to distance themselves a little bit from Adrian Martinez. But then they went back. And obviously at that point, McCaffrey's going to transfer out. He's going to go be a starter somewhere else. It was like the opportunity, and we all knew something needed to change, and they
Great practice player.
They just took it right out of him.
Well, and are they trying to recruit quarterbacks? It's a weird situation, right? Because I keep thinking they had the kid who's now at Rutgers, who came over from, correct me if I'm wrong, came over from UCF, transferred with Scott Frost, and I thought, okay, this guy, Vedral, this guy's going to be the guy at Nebraska. He transfers out. I mean, they've had some guys there, but it's a weird mix of how is Scott Frost in that offense not getting the Adrian Martinez, who was a big prospect at the time, like the 4 or 5-star guy to run that offense.
Even at Oregon, that was something that they would say about that Oregon staff, right? Marcus Mariota was a 3-star that they found in Hawaii when they were looking for somebody else, and they got him to commit. And then they also had Justin Herbert, who was right there in their own backyard, who was a 2 or 3-star kid who had offers from like Montana. And oh, you can go to Oregon or Montana. Like, what are you going to choose? Well, I'm going to go right down the street. So that's been a problem that's followed Scott around for quite some time.
I mean, figure out the quarterback situation if you're Scott Frost. But you're right. If they end up going, I think they have 3 wins right now.
They do.
If this is a 4-win team, they're not going to a bowl game at this point, which
correct.
I think could be the death knell. But if you have 3 or 4 wins, I'm saying they're not going to win. They're not going to win 3 more games. But if they win 3 or 4 games, I know what bowl eligibility is. So thank you. He's done. I mean, I think we all believe that. But I'm still reserving a little bit of hope that he wins one of these big games down the stretch. But I'm not seeing it with Adrian Martinez.
I am not either. That is a wrap on this week's Farm Folio. Fact or fiction? To learn more about farmland ownership, contact Farm Folio at farmfolio.net/clay or call 833-FARM-LOT. When we come back on OutKick the Tailgate, Chad, you missed out on all of the fun beverages that we had here last week, so you're going to make up for it all at once.
When we come back, I'd miss out no more. No more will I miss out because the fun's about to get started.
Stay with us here on OutKick the Tailgate.
12.
There's never been a more challenging time to be an investor. Your stock markets are overvalued by every measure with record low cap rates. Cryptocurrency can go from boom to bust overnight, and inflation is making everything hard to predict. Wouldn't it be nice if you could just sit back and watch your money grow? That's where Farm Folio comes in. Farmland ownership made easy. Farmland's an asset class that's often overlooked, but it's one that's consistently delivered higher returns than other investments with significantly less volatility. You can buy a farm lot from Farm Folio, and we'll manage every aspect of your farm property, from crop care, harvesting, and sales of your produce through our company-owned packing facilities and international sales offices. With Farm Folio, farmland ownership has never been easier. Simply sit back and enjoy the fruits of our labor. Farm Folio, you own, we farm, you
Yeah, thanks, guys. And I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend himself, Trip Rogers, owner of Innisfree, where we are right now. Trip, this place is legendary, much like yourself. Thank you for having us and hosting us.
I appreciate the compliment. We've been very fortunate. This is our 23rd year in business. Tuscaloosa has been great to us, and we want people to have fun when they come to Tuscaloosa. I mean, especially this weekend, we have a lot of people who've never been here before that I've met last night, and they're having a great time.
By the way, congrats to us and your lovely staff here. By the way, yeah, a round of applause for you, because we may be the only ones awake in Tuscaloosa right now after a big night. This is a game weekend, and this is obviously a big time for Innisfree.
It is. And last night was a good night. It was a late night, and obviously we have a 6 o'clock kickoff today, which, you know, people kind of slow roll out on Saturday morning. But it'll be fun. It'll be a long day, and we get that extra hour tonight because we roll the clocks back.
You know, after a big night and when it's a game day, there's really only one thing to do, and that's start drinking early. So we have some drinks here.
We do.
What are we drinking?
This is the Sabanade.
By the way, what's your name?
Skylar.
Skylar is serving up the drink today. Thank you, Skylar.
So this is our Sabanade. We're still using our 20th anniversary glasses, though.
Notice how Trip does not drink out of a straw.
Cheers.
Much like I don't, because men don't drink out of straws. This is a
don't drink out
lesson
of straws.
for everyone watching. No man should ever drink out of a straw. Oh, that's delicious.
It is.
Yeah.
It'll get your day going.
We're gonna have to fill that thing up again.
So
this is a Sabanade. You said.
It'll go down very well, and you'll have fun.
You know, so you bought this place in college, right?
We built it.
Built it in
Yep.
college.
We built every inch of it.
Every college town in the SEC has a place that you say the name of the bar, and if you go here, you go to this place. Innisfree became that place, right? I mean, it's pretty remarkable to think about that. When I hear the name Innisfree, I know, that's where you go in Tuscaloosa.
It has been, and that's been, man, it's been great. Like I said earlier, that's our 23rd year. We built this thing, and we were gonna have fun for a few years, and then get real jobs, and then all of a sudden, it's like, all right, we're in this thing, so let's make it happen. And we've been busting it ever since, and it's been great. And without like our employees and our customers, we wouldn't be here. So
they make a mean drink. That's
and
for
they
sure.
do.
Great
And,
job.
and that's what makes it fun. Like people come to Tuscaloosa. Tuscaloosa's come a long way in the last 20 years, and we're glad to be a part of it.
I know that I'm not as good of a coach as Lane Kiffin, but if I start coming back, can I get a great code name like Joey Freshwater?
We'll give you a good nickname.
I need a nickname. Do you have any drinks that's Joey Freshwater inspired or anything? Are you thinking about something on the menu?
We'll come up. We have one. We'll do that in a little bit. After we finish the first segment.
But I mean, I'm halfway kidding, but this is a popular place with coaches at Alabama as well.
They come in and they have a good time, and one good thing about this place is people can come in and they don't, you're not going to get bothered, because everyone respects everybody and they want everybody to have a good time. And that's kind of like our motto. I mean, that's how we got the name, Innisfree. So it's from the Yeats poem, The Lake Isle of Innisfree, and it was him escaping the bright lights of the big city and going to find his place to relax and have fun.
Football and literature. We do it all. We really do it all here on this show. Clay Travis was on with us earlier, and we were talking about being here last night. And we were amazed for a college bar right on a campus or close to a campus, the different ages that were here. I mean, there were grandparents hanging out with grandkids that were in school here. There was a bunch of college age kids here. There were people my age here. It was remarkable to see that mix of people.
Yeah, that's one thing we've really been good at is mixing everybody together. You can come in at happy hour and you'll hang out with the same people that come in a few days a week. And then on game weekends, we have parents come in. And of course, the credit card statements they get every month has Innisfree on it. So they want to know where it is, what it's like why do you come here so much?
They want to protect their investment.
They do want to
make sure that the investment money is going to the right place. Yes.
And we got to keep the power on. So.
Right.
But
tip money has to go to them,
exactly.
And we got to get the money in. Make sure it's all covered.
We've done a great job of having parents, grandparents come in and mix with everybody, and that's one thing that kind of sets us apart from some of the other bars in town. They have fun, and they can come and relax and have a good time.
Well, thank you for being such a wonderful
Absolutely,
host. We
man.
love it here at Innisfree.
We appreciate y'all coming.
And, Trip Rogers, by the way, thank you so much. Guys, while it's cold out there, it's very warm in here now. So eat your heart out. Trip,
Cheers.
thank you.
Roll Tide.
Back to the freezing cold outside now.
That's right. Back to the cold. So warm us up. Bring us some drinks or something, Chad. Please. We're trying out here. When we come back for OutKick the Tailgate, one of the newest members of the OutKick family, Dan Dakich, will join us next.
Danny.
Stay with us. We'll be back right after this.
There's never been a more challenging time to be an investor. Your stock markets are overvalued by every measure with record low cap rates. Cryptocurrency can go from boom to bust overnight, and inflation is making everything hard to predict. Wouldn't it be nice if you could just sit back and watch your money grow? That's where Farm Folio comes in. Farmland ownership made easy. Farmland's an asset class that's often overlooked, but it's one that's consistently delivered higher returns than other investments with significantly less volatility. You could buy a farm lot from Farm Folio, and we'll manage every aspect of your farm property, from crop care, harvesting, and sales of your produce through our company-owned packing facilities and international sales offices. With Farm Folio, farmland ownership has never been easier. Simply sit back and enjoy the fruits of our labor. Farm Folio, you own, we farm, you
OutKick The Tailgate rolls on, and OutKick's newest member, Dan Dakich, kind enough to make some time on an early morning in Tuscaloosa. So one, thanks for waking up and coming and joining us.
Are you kidding me? Where else would you rather be? It's cold here in Tuscaloosa though, but I had to get a houndstooth cap. When in Rome, as you said.
That's it.
Not a cap, I guess, it's a hat. But no, what a great deal. I came here 2 weeks ago. We tried to get in this place, couldn't get in. I mean, this place, Innisfree, is the place.
They get it done here.
It is unbelievable.
Look at this drink. Look at this drink right here, Dan. Come on. Come on, man.
To get in.
It is.
Yeah.
Everybody-
What could you sell this seat
now.
for right
Yeah.
now in about an hour or 2 hours?
Last night you had to pay $60 to
Yeah.
get in. Right now, Trip will give you $60 to walk in at 9
Hey,
a.m.
good for Trip.
Yeah.
Dan, is the Indy Star going to write another story based on what you
man.
say today?
Yeah. It was
By the way, the Indy Star was reaching out to me for
know.
comment on when you're starting.
They were
And I
so
said, he's
excited.
starting Monday, I think. And they're like, when exactly is he starting?
They were so excited
time.
to think that I was going to get canceled. Like they don't like me, and they were so excited because, well, you know, the show was supposed to start in September, October. Well, hey, look, all I know is this: the OutKick people brought 350 pounds of equipment to my house, dropped it off, and I'm like, what do we do with this? Well, it's going to be a stage in your house, but we're starting Monday. I can't wait. I got to tell you, I'm so excited. It's called Don't At Me, which means I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to be unfiltered. I consider myself the commissioner of common sense. I'm not biased towards any side, any people. We treat everybody the same. And when you get offended, just don't at me. I want to hear from you. Don't at me.
You don't care.
Don't at me. Don't at me. Don't at me is a good name, but I will say I was a fan of Sack Up.
I was too.
Also, I was
Fox said no.
I was a real fan of Sack Up.
Fox said no. What's wrong with Sack Up?
I think both are good. I mean, I
Right,
think
also-
it's you know.
We can't at you because you're not on Twitter.
Well, that's true too. But I think I might be going back.
Okay.
I think so. I don't know. But no, it's great to be here.
This is our first time meeting.
Yeah.
But you guys have a bit of a friendly
Oh,
feud,
yeah.
if you will.
It's not friendly.
It's not
We're
friendly?
nice to each
I'm
other's
tr- I'm
face,
trying
but
to be
we
nice.
we
hate
talk
this
so
guy.
much trash about each other behind their back.
Charles Barkley said it best. He goes, "What's wrong with people?" He goes, "Why do people leave a paper trail when talking about other people? I do it the old-fashioned way. I talk behind their backs." And no, you guys are great. Hey, look, we had, maybe we still do, the two best radio shows in midday in the country, as voted on by all the program directors. We were 1 and 2 or 2 and 1, however you want it to be. And when that happens, greatness somehow has to come together. It just simply does. It's what the world is.
Dan's being very humble. You were typically number one. We had a flash
We
at
had
number
one
one.
year where we were number
And
one.
then we were number
one.
2 every other year. But we had that 1 year at number 1. Every other year was Dan.
And I let you know.
Oh, the best was it the combine? We were at the combine in Indy, Jill, and the ratings came. I think it was combine.
Well, so the rankings
Or it was
come
the
out at
Super
Super
Bowl.
Bowl,
It was the Super
but
Bowl.
at the combine
Yeah.
is where this happened.
He walks by as we're already on the air. He walks by and goes, "Guys, listen to this. You are listening live to the #1 midday show in the nation."
Yeah.
And I mean, we're in the convention center in Indianapolis, the whole place. You know, they're doing bench press next to us, and they're hearing Dan yell at us about being the #1 rated, according to Barrett Sports Media, the #1 ranked show.
That's right.
Let them know.
Why wouldn't I? Right?
You absolutely
You
should.
got to. No, you guys are great about it. It's fun. It's really fun.
You're
Where's
a-
Kuharski? What do you do, quit?
He's not a
flying to
college
LA.
guy. He's not a college guy.
Flying to LA.
He'll be quick to tell you he's not a college football guy.
I'll tell you this. I'll be honest with you. For me personally, I was a long time in college basketball, played, coach. My first love has always been college football. And if you were going to ask me, what would you rather do? Spend an afternoon watching college football or spend an afternoon watching college basketball? It's 100 to 1 to me, college football. I literally, and I'm telling you, I start at noon every day. And I thought the big noon kickoff with Urban, I thought last year was unbelievable. And I think with Stoops, it's fantastic too. I learned stuff from Urban last year about the wishbone and how you got to guard the fullback. I didn't know any of that stuff. I think the show is great, but I will watch college football, and I'm being literal here, from noon until whatever the West Coast, if Hawaii's playing San Jose State at 2 in the morning, I'm in all day. Love it.
You're a Midwest guy.
Yeah.
So Cincinnati is getting a lot of talk. Cincinnati, Ohio State. We talked about it earlier. I think the message is clear. Group of 5 teams aren't welcome in the college football playoff, and that's the message that was sent to Cincinnati, unfortunately.
Yeah, it seems like. And I saw Cincinnati in person, and I play Indiana, and Indiana's not very good. Indiana was overrated to start, was 17th in the country. So I go watch them play Cincinnati, and I got to tell you, I wasn't impressed. And I hate to say that because I really liked Luke Fickell. I got to know him when he was on staff at Ohio State. Indiana hasn't beat, but Indiana made too many mistakes. And then I went and watched Michigan State play Indiana. And I got to tell you, Michigan State will tell you they were bad in that game. So my view of the whole thing is watching two teams in person. Our thing was, man, if these are top 10 teams that in the nation isn't very good. But I do think they told Cincinnati, look, we're going to pat you on the head nice. We're going to keep you here. But what's really the path to Cincinnati? Because if you look at Oklahoma, Oklahoma's got Baylor. Oklahoma's got Oklahoma State, two top 12 teams. You got a real you got a real chance to move up. Even I think Wake Forest has a bit of a chance to move up. So Cincinnati, I don't know where that comes from, but it was like they said, okay, it's a great story, but stay here. That's why I looked at the rankings. I don't know you.
I would have put them in the top 4 right now.
I think I would have too.
Yeah, only because you can allow the other teams to win and then jump them. This was the week to put them in the top 4.
And that tells you by not putting them in the
AP
top
had
4,
them
they
in
don't care.
number 2 in the country.
I know.
But Dan, you know this. Like, sports is the greatest meritocracy. That's
Yeah.
why we love it, right? Doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter what color you are. You're a good teammate, you're a good player, you're a good coach, you get it done, you can do it, right? College sports and college football, there's so much about what did you do last year? What are you going to do? How many 5 stars do you have? How many future NFL draft picks? And it clouds the
Do you
resume.
think that? Do you guys?
Like, you saw them, so that's one thing
Yeah.
that's different. But college basketball the same way, and how we pick NCAA tournament teams. But it's so unlike pro sports from that perspective, where
Agreed.
it's just win your way in. You either win your division or you didn't.
But don't you think? I say this every year on my show, and I would love for you to tell me I'm wrong, because I would like to be wrong about this. But every year it comes out, and here they are, boom, across the board. And every year we talk about it, right? And it always plays itself out.
Yep.
Like, doesn't it? It always plays itself out. Like, if Cincinnati's going to get in there, what has to happen? Well, Alabama loses another game. Alabama has 2 losses, and I think I saw Alabama play in person against Tennessee. I think they're great. But if they get 2 losses, there's no way I'm putting Alabama and not Cincinnati. Would you agree with that?
Well, I mean, again,
I know you're sitting here in
no,
Alabama.
look,
So a 2-loss Alabama
wouldn't
team?
think so.
I believe Alabama is the second best team in the country.
I do too.
Right? I also don't think that their resume with the loss to Texas A&M is the second best resume in the country right now. So that's where we get mixed up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you want the best 4 teams, and I understand what you're saying. I watch Alabama and Georgia. I watch college football every weekend like you. I think Alabama's the second best team in the country. But what does what I think about Alabama matter when it's just the old blind resume, right? With college basketball, you did this a lot on ESPN.
Oh, yeah.
This team and this team, and you don't see who it is until the very end.
Right.
We need more of that in college football.
Yeah, and I agree with that. One of the things that I think is interesting about what happened is Oregon, okay? How important is that win at Ohio State? They lost to Stanford.
It's the most valued win in the country right now.
Did you see what happened to Stanford last night?
Yeah, they got crushed by Utah.
Right, 52-7.
Crushed.
Do you know who Stanford beat?
Oregon.
Right. So you sit there and go, how's Oregon up there? Well, they had one win. One great, not a good win, a great win. And, at the end of the day, but I do think at the end of the day, this all plays itself out. I really do. I feel like it does every year.
So I came from Pac-12 country for the last decade plus. I worked out there and worked specifically for Oregon. But when I look at what they have them ranked at number 4 right now, I think it's like the East Coast bias, right? It's the West Coast. You just didn't pay attention to the rest of it. You saw the Ohio State win and you said, wow, that team was good. And that team was good. But the rest of Oregon's games after that haven't been impressive.
No.
But nobody else is like, oh, let's follow them week to week as closely as we do an Alabama, a Georgia, even a Cincinnati, because they're like the hot team this year. Like, I feel like they've just gotten that under the radar treatment that allowed them to, and not now. Now everybody's going to be watching them closely.
Let me ask you this. Okay, Cincinnati. Cincinnati's played mediocre teams close, right? Like, if you were coaching Cincinnati and you're up 28-0, I'm winning by 100.
You have to.
You have to, because they've played, what was it, last week was Tulane, Navy before that. You're playing everybody close. I used to say this when I was coaching in the Mid-American Conference at coaches meetings. Look, if you can beat me by 1,000, I'm not saying a word, but I don't want to hear you complaining at me when so.
When you get to turn the table.
Yeah, don't even worry about it. I don't care. Do whatever you need to do for your team. But if I'm Cincinnati, That's all I'm thinking about. You got to win the game. Don't get me wrong. And a one point win is great. But I'm beating if I can. I am not taking Ryder out. I am keeping him in, and I am beating the living hell out of everybody that I can beat out of. And then I'm going to let you figure it out, because a lot of people just see scores. And if I'm anybody, I mean, right? If whoever you are, you got to beat the hell out of people. Yep. I think Oklahoma has a chance. Oklahoma maybe is the only team that maybe just needs to win by 1 and move on to jump people and get in.
Settle this for me, Dan, because I know you're not afraid to talk about political things at times, too. I brought this up with the crew a little while back. Nick Rolovich gets fired at Washington State for not getting vaccinated. Some of his staff got fired. I argued this would never happen in the SEC. You know, Brian Harsin and others have been cagey about whether or not they're vaccinated, and they won't say, and if it's state law or school law. The SEC, because it just means more, will find a way to keep those coaches and not fire them because of their vaccination status. And this is back in the news with Aaron Rodgers now this week also.
100%.
Yes, thank you.
Unless you want your
Who are you arguing with?
Yeah.
Is anybody arguing the other?
I don't know that anyone, I don't think they disagreed with me, but I'm like, there's no way that they would actually fire someone.
All right, we're getting rid of Nick Saban because he's not vaccinated.
Yeah,
really?
No way.
Okay. No, of course. Look,
They'll let Nick Saban write the laws here in the state if he needed to do that.
Hey, Nick.
Is a good part of that, right?
Nick, what do you think here? You don't want to vaccinate? Okay, Governor, no vaccinations for no. Of course that.
Do you want to get reelected? Then
Look,
you'll allow him to stay.
We say this, and there's a couple things in coaching. One, like for coaches, okay, you got to be careful. Indiana University fired Bob Knight, so coaches got to be careful. All right. However, Indiana University fired Bob Knight when he wasn't winning national championships. And I've learned from whenever he got fired 20-some years ago, I've always had that in the back of my mind. You know, that's my thought. If you win enough, like you said, you write the damn law. Look, all right, it came out. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers. So it comes out that the media knew Aaron Rodgers wasn't vaccinated. Did anybody say anything?
Well, the Packers knew.
The Packers knew
the
too.
League knew.
Everybody
he was
knew.
doing the media protocols as someone who was vaccinated, and now that's suddenly an issue.
Why is it suddenly an issue?
It's not an issue for me.
No, I know.
I don't care. I'm with you on this.
Now let me ask you this: if it was Joey Blutarski, the left guard,
he wouldn't be on the roster.
No, of course he wouldn't be on the roster, and that's just the reality of the world that we live in. I don't think there's any question about that. And good for Washington State for getting a win last week, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But see, my mind immediately goes to the sports side of it and thinks, why would you go to Washington State? They don't care about football. When they fire their coach over that, I'm thinking this place clearly doesn't value sports when I see that story.
Well, if you're going to Washington State, you also got to look at what are your options.
Yeah.
Like you're not going. I mean, I'm not.
It's either here or Idaho.
Right. Can we go to Pocatello for Idaho State? I don't know, man. It's a nice place. They got potatoes. It's all good.
They have Cougar Gold cheese. It's pretty good.
How good is that? That's some local
you're
knowledge.
You're weighing Pullman, Washington versus Manhattan, Kansas. But at that point, as your offers, probably. Yeah.
But let me go this route. Like people lost their minds back when, and I don't know who the coach was. Maybe it was Urban. I don't know. It was somebody in the NFL that said, "Look, we're looking at whether you're vaccinated or not." Was it Urban?
Yep.
Well, of course that's true. I'm not talking about for Trevor Lawrence can be vaccinated, unvaccinated, put a mask on, let's go. But the 54th guy, please. I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's why I like being on OutKick, because you can talk real about things and not. People don't lose their mind. I guess maybe they lose their mind at you, but
don't at me.
Don't at me,
Hold
people.
On, the Indy Star is calling you right now. Actually, they want me to comment on what you just said.
It was a 7-tweet figuring it out. But, hey, look.
I also laugh at the people going after Aaron Rodgers, and I heard his explanation on this, and I'm thinking, you don't want to get into an intellect battle with Aaron Rodgers. This is not the guy. This guy's going to go host Jeopardy. He's a very smart, intelligent guy.
Right.
And has everything very well thought out. I think a lot of the media members going at him would lose that battle with him.
Here's how you know they would lose it. So in my little world of media, the first thing I looked at was the reaction of the writers in Indianapolis. And you know what all they talked about was? Joe Rogan. It was low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
It was the easiest thing to talk about. Joe Rogan. Oh, he's one guy.
Medical advice from Joe Rogan.
He gets medical advice from Joe Rogan. Yeah. What, wasn't Jake from State Farm available? Was one of the, stupid stuff like that, because it's hard to debate a well-thought-out person. I'm not saying that everything Aaron Rodgers said was right. I'm sure there are some. But can't you debate it with him? Instead of just take the easiest way out and say, well, he's hanging out with Joe Rogan, screw him, he's a dumbass. No, wait, whoa.
That's what we like to do in 2021, though.
That's all we do in
He's also
2021.
talking about Joe Rogan
very
having
annoying.
doctors on. I don't think he's saying Joe Rogan.
Right.
He said, I listened to Joe Rogan,
Right.
and he's had a lot of doctors on
Hey.
about it, and I started thinking about it, listening to that.
I have a friend. My best friend's brother is a heart surgeon. He is the smartest human being that I've ever met and will ever met, and he says don't get the vaccine. There's not enough testing as a doctor. I got the vaccine. Fine. People want to get it, they don't want to get it. That's their call. You know, I'm sure I can find the second smartest person in the world that says get the vaccine. That's fine. But it's your call. And I personally, let me ask you this, because this is a debate that I'm having. I don't think Aaron Rodgers or anybody has any obligation to tell the media the truth. Now, we all want the truth. And I said this on my show. If I have you on and you're lying to me, it's my job to figure out if you're lying and call you out. It's not my job as Aaron Rodgers to tell everybody the absolute truth. No.
Well, Brady says he lies to the media 90% of the time.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I'm the head coach at Indiana in 2008. I'm looking at these guys, and I'm like, let me get through this stuff, and let me just say whatever stupid stuff these idiots are going to say is okay and get through this, because they ain't not going to understand what I'm saying. And that's offensive, but you don't Aaron, like,
It's not offensive. You can't offend us.
I know. But Aaron Rodgers, he doesn't. Nobody deserves. If he wants to tell him the truth, up to him. If he doesn't, up to him. If he wants to get vaccinated, up to him. It's the league and the media knew about it. Up to them to criticize him or call him out. My take.
Like you said, you can't offend us on this show. I've challenged them to try to offend me all season long. They have yet to come through.
Specials on our phone.
Yeah,
Show
they
it
were
to
like,
Jill
watch
and say,
this.
Are you
Have you
offended
seen
yet?
this?
Have you seen the Chappelle bit?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Have you
Oh my
seen
God, I'm gonna
Chappelle's
go
thoughts
running
on
into the night.
transsexuals? Here, let's see if we can offend Jill.
Yeah,
on
we-
this.
Say-
She's not offended on
Say
any
what
of
you
it.
want to say.
We just need to
Relax.
just relax and take have a
Have
debate
drink a
about it.
Let's all take a beat.
Is
Let's all
anybody?
take a beat, not get overly offended about everything.
Because you know what's going to happen? Something's going to happen tomorrow that we're all going to get up in arms for.
Of course.
I mean, you know, Gruden happened, and then all of a sudden Rodgers happened. Then, you know, I mean, God bless Urban, and that's way in the back. I'll tell you this. I'll tell you something that's not getting any play that I am a little bit like, what the hell is this about? You know, everybody made such a big deal about Urban's deal. Okay, fine, that's great. But Joel Quenneville, a three-time winning Stanley Cup coach, let me say that again, three-time winning Stanley Cup coach resigns over his handling of sexual abuse within a major a historic hockey organization. You don't hear much about it. It's the damnedest thing to me what we really put oxygen to, and what that's no big.
You know what the difference is? Hockey versus football.
There's no question. But I went on.
Football's always going to get.
It is, but I went on
scope.
different national sports media internet web pages, even to the hockey section.
Trying to find it.
That thing was gone in 2 days. A day. I couldn't believe that. Anyway, that's my rant. Go Alabama. I got my hat on. I'm very excited.
Don't at me. What can people look forward to starting Monday on OutKick?
Well, it's probably going to be boring for you. No.
This is a great plug. Everybody watch.
9 o'clock to 11 o'clock Eastern time. We're just going to talk common sense on sports. I view everything from the prism of being inside a locker room. And my friend Jason Benetti, who is a great announcer, he's like, man, you should really call it what's really going on. Because my thing is always, okay, yes, this is what is being
I'll save
reported.
That name
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Here's what's really happening with this. You know, and as we talked about earlier, what's really happening with Aaron Rodgers is everybody knew. That's what's real, not the blown up, made up, I'm offended by everything nonsense that we read. And the other thing is we're so married and we're so handcuffed by Twitter. Yeah. My God, the whole world, you know, like people are so handcuffed by what's Twitter going to say.
We need a scrolling thing that says Twitter is not real life. It's just on the bottom of everything that we see.
And I'm just going to take...
Not real life.
I'm going to take the mask off, the handcuffs off of worrying about what Twitter says, because I swear to God, so many people, whether they're coaches or players or media or whoever, are so handcuffed by, oh my God, the Twitterverse is just killing you. Oh my God, there's a body bag for you because somebody just crushed you on Twitter. So that's what it's going to be. Take the handcuffs off of Twitter and let's go. Let's talk real for once. Whatever it's about, sports mostly, but we're going to get into stuff that we're talking about, some political stuff if you like. And I'm actually thinking of running for mayor, and I can't decide, of Indianapolis. And I'm
You're going to leave it up to Twitter to
No.
decide?
So much good love from the Indy Star when you do that.
Yeah.
They'll crush. I can't decide though if I run for a Republican or Democrat. I grew up a Democrat. I'm neither. I voted for myself in the last 2 elections. Literally, I've typed myself in the last 2 elections. Not Trump, not Hillary, not Biden. I just typed me in, and I got 52 votes. So we'll see.
I'm glad that you don't have any opinions. It's been fun having you here.
It's fun being here. You kidding me? This is great.
Where's the rest of the day?
I'm driving home.
Oh.
I'm stopping. My daughter lives.
Well, that'll do it.
I live 8 hours away. My daughter lives in Nashville. I'm stopping in there, taking her and all of her friends out to the Gulch. We're going to go have dinner or lunch, whatever time I get there. And then I'm driving home.
Dinner.
Yeah, dinner. Yeah, and then we're going to watch college football the rest of the night and listen to it on the way home.
Nice.
Thanks, man.
Enjoyable.
Good seeing you,
Thanks,
buddy.
guys.
Best of
see you,
luck
brother.
Fun. It's
on the
wonderful
show.
meeting you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Everybody, Don't At Me starts Monday on the OutKick Network. We'll be right back with picks against the spread here on OutKick The Tailgate. Stay with us.
There's never been a more challenging time to be an investor. Your stock markets are overvalued by every measure with record low cap rates. Cryptocurrency can go from boom to bust overnight, and inflation is making everything hard to predict. Wouldn't it be nice if you could just sit back and watch your money grow? That's where Farm Folio comes in. Farmland ownership made easy. Farmland's an asset class that's often overlooked, but it's one that's consistently delivered higher returns than other investments with significantly less volatility. You could buy a farm lot from Farm Folio, and we'll manage every aspect of your farm property, from crop care, harvesting, and sales of your produce through our company-owned packing facilities and international sales offices. With Farm Folio, farmland ownership has never been easier. Simply sit back and enjoy the fruits of our labor. Farm Folio, you own, we farm, you
OutKick The Tailgate, presented by Farm Folio. Hour number 3, we are live from Innisfree here in Tuscaloosa. And guys, I know you went and warmed up. You stood in the sun for quite some time, but we've got you back.
I don't think,
You'll make it.
People watching at home in the comfort of their own living room.
They're enjoying this.
With the heat
Seeing
on,
you
wherever
suffer.
they are. They probably don't want to sit and hear about how cold
They
it is
probably
right now.
don't, but it's a real.
I cannot overstate how much colder it is under this tent right now than it is in that sun. Everyone that's here right now
They're warm.
is in the sun, and they all have hoodies on. And under this tent,
I just want to say,
I can't. You get that.
Let me-
Can't warm up, like the feeling like all day, like you just can't warm up. That's me right now.
we will go full cycle with Chad. We started this show, we met in Gainesville where he sweat, and it was in the heat. We were in the sun, we were in direct sunlight, and now we are in the cold and the shadows. And we will end back up where he's hot by the end of the season.
Full cycle
He will
of
be
Chad-
hot in Atlanta.
Well, the full cycle of Chad will happen today.
Yeah.
Like, I'm shivering right
In
now.
the next
you
few
guys will
hours.
see me sweat. You will see me sweat. Now, I mark my word, before this day is over, and we're at this game tonight, you will also see me sweat today.
Chad,
all these things will happen.
I need you to bring the heat, because now it is time for picks against the spread, powered by FanDuel. Let's make some money, Chad.
Let's win.
Let's do
Let's
it.
win.
Let's
Are these
start
picks
out.
not warming up at all?
They may or may not. Let's start with the biggest game in the SEC today is Auburn and Texas A&M. A&M favored by 4.5 points. A&M is one of those teams where if you look at the Jimbo Fisher era, they're 7-3 in the month of November. And if you go back to his time at Florida State, his overall record in November is 34-8. Guys, how do you see this one playing out?
4.5 is the spread I saw.
Yep.
I'm taking Auburn in this. I'm taking the points.
Okay.
Because for the first time, and this is going to sound terrible, because he'll end up screwing me again. I believe in Bo Nix. I believe in Bo. And he is confident. He's playing consistent. They're running the football well because Bo Nix is playing better. The team that runs the football better wins this game, and I think Auburn comes in and runs the football well today.
Hutton, it was when we were here at Innisfree the last time, and we didn't know Bo Nix had just gotten benched, and then he had that great performance against LSU. So maybe we'll have that again in store for us today.
Hutton believes in Bo. I believe in Mike Elko, who has the second best defense in the SEC as defensive coordinator at A&M. This is second best defense in the SEC, third best defense in the SEC in this game with Auburn and A&M. I think A&M's defense gets it done. That's the story for them. Zach Calzada, we saw him become a legend overnight in that game, in that win over Alabama. Give me A&M to cover today, and it's going to be on the backs of that defense.
He is a legend, but that legend is over if you watch him play since that game.
Yes, it was a one night.
It was
a legendary night.
It was
but,
great.
Again, A&M's defense. Let me reiterate, A&M's defense gets it done today, and they cover.
It's going to be a great game.
We go out to Pac-12 country. They're going to have 40-mile-an-hour winds for Oregon and Washington, so a blustery day out there in the Pacific Northwest.
The
same as here.
Yes.
The Ducks are favored by 11.5 points over the Huskies. Oregon has won 14 of the last 16.
I'm taking the Ducks because they better cover.
They better.
I mean, with what the College Football Playoff Committee did for them this week, how can you not cover this game? I bet the Ducks.
Give me Oregon. I'd love to disagree with Hutton
I was waiting
right now,
for
like I
that
did last
pause.
time, but I'm like, I can't disagree with him. This is what did Dan Dakich just say? If you can run up the score on someone or run up the score on me, go ahead and do it.
You absolutely do it.
This is a chance. Washington's not good. This is a chance for Oregon to make a statement and show they belong in that 4th spot. I think Oregon wins big.
How about Mike Leach at Mississippi State getting ranked 17th by the playoff committee? They are going to Arkansas, and Arkansas favored by 4.5.
How about Mike Leach running the ball 35 times last week?
Unheard of.
Yes, that's the most rushing attempts in the Mike Leach Mississippi State era. They got it done against Kentucky. That final score, honestly, I don't think it was a 14-point game. It was more like a 28-point game the way they played. They spotted Kentucky 10 points early. I think Mississippi State is on to something right now. I think Arkansas is going in the opposite direction. Give me Mississippi State.
The shine is off the Razorbacks. Meanwhile, Will Rogers has thrown for at least 294 yards in every start this season. Give me Mike Leach. Give me Will Rogers. I'm taking the underdog.
We talked
To win
about
outright.
Oh.
I want them to win outright. Let's go.
We talked about this game earlier because Wake Forest is ranked 9th this week, and they are not favored as they go to North Carolina, the Tar Heels, by
Explain
2.5.
this to me. Explain this line.
Well, we're going to get to another line that makes no sense based on
Every week
ranking
there's
and
one of these, and you go,
road.
what does Vegas know that we don't know?
Here's what they know. Wake Forest is a great story, okay? Wake Forest
is not.
Wake Forest is not a great team. UNC is the opposite. The story with UNC is Mac Brown saying the media screwed it up because you guys thought we were good and we're not. UNC has not been good this year. I know I said this in the Notre Dame game also. I keep waiting on UNC to wake up and Sam Howell to start getting it going for them. I think they do it today. I'm gonna double back down. Give me North Carolina, a 2.5-point favorite. They're going to cover that spread, and Wake Forest unbeaten run will end today.
See, I'm taking Wake Forest. I think the better quarterback is not Sam Howell, it's Hartman. And the Charlotte native is going to down UNC today. I took Wake Forest.
Third-ranked Michigan State favored by 2.5 at Purdue. Purdue's been knocking off some teams, my Hawkeyes being them, namely. Can they do it again?
Why is Jeff Brom not getting mentioned for some of these jobs? It's odd because I know they haven't been great, but there was a 2 or 3 year run where he was mentioned for every job. There was even a report out of Knoxville that he took the Tennessee job when they eventually fired John Curry, hired Philip Fulmer, and hired Jeremy Pruitt. Jeff Brom's a really good football coach. He rises up and beats the number 2 ranked team in the country every couple of years.
Yeah. This is number 3.
Yes, give me the Boilermakers. Give me Jeff Brom. Michigan State, while they've been impressive, this seems like the type of game they're going to go in and lose. I think Purdue wins outright.
Purdue.
I know that upsets Hutton, who has a man crush on Sparty.
I don't disagree with the trap game aspect of this, with the emotional high of last week, accompanying the fact that you're number 3 in the country in the college football playoff. You should have seen us yesterday, Jill. Feverishly, we were on FanDuel betting before we went across the state line, right? I took Michigan State here.
You had to.
I had, yes.
They're your team.
Yes, and Heisman hopeful. They will be charged up and ready. I would not have batted an eye, by the way, if Michigan State was a 7-point favorite. And because they're 2.5, I automatically took Spartan.
We'll go to Chad's Tennessee Volunteers. This is a line that has been moving all week. They are at Kentucky. I think that we have it at 0.5 point favored by Kentucky, but I think it's been moving even since then.
It started at 5?
Started at 4.5. Kentucky favored by 4.5. Tennessee's now a 1-point favorite, and that's probably going to keep going up by kickoff. This is another line that makes no sense. Tennessee unranked at number 18, Kentucky on the road at night. I think it's going to be a great atmosphere. I think it's going to be a great game. This is as close to a pick'em as you're going to get between these two teams. I think that says a lot about both Tennessee and Kentucky for good and bad reasons right now, that this is a pick'em. This feels like the type of game, Hutton, to me. While my mind says Tennessee's coming in healthier than they've been, Kentucky's limping into this game after Mississippi State, I think it would have been better for Tennessee's purposes if Kentucky won a week ago.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Mark Stoops has a bounce-back game, a bounce-back performance at home. They're going to have a great environment. I think Kentucky wins outright in this game. I think Kentucky beats Tennessee 2 years in a row for the first time since 1977.
Hutton, we're going to have a sad Chad on our hands if this is the case.
I do not see that happening. I mean, Tennessee's the healthier team. The logic says take the Vols. My head says take the Vols. They're the better team today over Kentucky, who's the ranked opponent at home. The line is correct. It adjusted itself correctly. I took the Vols early, and I would still take them as the favorite on the road.
What's weird, even at 4-4, and Kentucky only with the 2 losses, Tennessee has looked better.
Well,
right? That's why this line is what it is. Tennessee, the record doesn't show it, but they've looked better than Kentucky the majority of this year. And I know the transitive property doesn't apply in sports, but you can say, well, Kentucky beat Florida, Tennessee lost going away to Florida, but look at Kentucky against Missouri. Look at them against South Carolina. Look at Tennessee against those two teams. People are also pointing to that.
But Chad, how many weeks on OutKick 360 and on Tailgate have I sat here and said, you know what, Liam Cohen and Levis, everything's going to come together. Robinson. And at some point, you just have to say an average team is just an average team at best.
It's a very average offense.
And that's what Kentucky is.
Yep.
Just an average team. Good season. Not trying to take anything away from them. I'm just not going to make them more than what they are, and that's why I'm taking Tennessee.
The big noon kickoff game is Ohio State at Nebraska. Ohio State favored by 14.5.
How'd you take this one?
I think Nebraska covers today. I think this is another in a long line of near misses for Scott Frost. I think that they will play closer than that spread. I'm not saying it's going to be a one-score game. I think it's going to be like a 10 to 13 point game, but I think Nebraska plays well today.
I bet Nebraska. I'm worried about that though because of Martinez. He's going to turn this football. They're going to double up a score on Nebraska, and the question is, can the Huskers come back and get some points back? Because quarterback play is going to be the difference in this, and it could end up being a blowout one way for Ohio State.
Up next, Liberty at Ole Miss. Hugh Freeze coming back. Lane Train, Hugh Freeze. Who do you got?
Ole Miss. I think this is, I laugh at a revenge opportunity for Hugh Freeze. I'm thinking, revenge for what? He screwed over Ole Miss, not the other way around.
Right.
This is revenge for Ole Miss as a university against Hugh Freeze and Liberty. I think Ole Miss wins big.
More than half of the NFL will have teams represented at this game scouting both quarterbacks. Liberty comes to play for about 3 quarters, and I think eventually Ole Miss runs away with it. I think this game feels like Alabama-Tennessee from a couple of weeks ago. Close for a long while, and then the final score is not indicative of how this game plays out.
Oklahoma State at West Virginia. Oklahoma State by 2.5.
Oklahoma State's defense.
You're taking Oklahoma State in this one?
Yep.
I want to take West Virginia because of the home field factor. We saw it last week against Iowa State, but I'm with Hutton. I think Oklahoma State's defense is too good. I think Oklahoma State goes in there and takes care of business.
And last up, LSU at Alabama, the game that we are at, 29.5 points. Gentlemen, it's going to be a close one.
Hutton may have some inside info on this based on some people we've talked to.
I was told that there are captains for Alabama that believe that they should be favored by more. Consider that. And the fact that Bryce Young is the Heisman frontrunner right now, they are going to go for the bundle against this Tigers secondary. That should be good. But if UCLA can pass on you, Alabama can pass on you. And they don't have Stingley in this defense.
Right.
They are going to rack up yards and points against this LSU Tigers secondary. I think they're going to throw it all over the field, and I think they want to blow out Ed O based on some things that were said a year ago.
I think the lay down and die factor for LSU is high. And we've got a meter of,
and that's exactly how they want it.
A propensity to lay down and die.
Yes.
It's high. I think Alabama jumps on them early. I think they cover, as crazy as that sounds, a big line like that. I think Alabama covers.
Not enough, yeah.
You guys met my buddy Fonte last night.
Yes.
And he goes to every Alabama LSU game.
Yep.
Huge Tigers fan. And I sent him the story from the mid-'90s about the pigs fly game, right? Like LSU will beat Alabama when pigs fly, and then pigs flew. He goes, you know what? That's a great story. It's like a 28-point spread again. Yeah, great story. Take Alabama. Even the die-hard LSU fans realize what's going to happen tonight at Bryant-Denny.
When we come back, Clay Travis will join us once again. We get to talk a little Alabama Farm Folio, all of the scenes here at Innisfree and former Bama quarterback limes. Lots of limes. Clay owns part of the lime farm, which is quite impressive.
He's a farmer.
Clay's not a farmer. I mean,
Clay
wants to be a farmer. And Jake Coker will also join us in the next 15 minutes.
I've got so much intel to get to in the next segment. Don't step all over.
Chad's up next. Stay with us.
There's never been a more challenging time to be an investor. Stock markets are overvalued by every measure with record low cap rates. Cryptocurrency can go from boom to bust overnight, and inflation is making everything hard to predict. Wouldn't it be nice if you could just sit back and watch your money grow? That's where Farm Folio comes in. Farmland ownership made easy. Farmland's an asset class that's often overlooked, but it's one that's consistently delivered higher returns than other investments with significantly less volatility. You can buy a farm lot from Farm Folio, and we'll manage every aspect of your farm property, from crop care, harvesting, and sales of your produce through our company-owned packing facilities and international sales offices. With Farm Folio, farmland ownership has never been easier. Simply sit back and enjoy the fruits of our labor. Farm Folio, you own, we farm, you There's never been a more challenging time to be an investor. Our stock markets are overvalued by every measure with record low cap rates. Cryptocurrency can go from boom to bust overnight, and inflation is making everything hard to predict. Wouldn't it be nice if you could just sit back and watch your money grow? That's where Farm Folio comes in. Farmland ownership made easy. Farmland's an asset class that's often overlooked, but it's one that's consistently delivered higher returns than other investments with significantly less volatility. You can buy a farm lot from Farm Folio, and we'll manage every aspect of your farm property, from crop care, harvesting, and sales of your produce through our company-owned packing facilities and international sales offices. With Farm Folio, farmland ownership has never been easier. Simply sit back and enjoy the fruits of our labor. Farm Folio, you own, we farm, you earn.
One, go.
We are back. OutKick the Tailgate, presented by Farm Folio. We are inside here at Innisfree right now, and I'm thrilled because I am now joined by two titans of agriculture. Dax Cook, CEO of Farm Folio, and Lime Farm owner Clay Travis. Guys,
18.
yeah, before we get started here, first I got a surprise for you. Innisfree, Katie is here.
Katie,
we
thank
have
you.
Joey Freshwaters. These are the Joey Freshwater cocktails here at Innisfree. So
Thank
again,
you. This is fantastic.
Guys should never drink out of a straw. So I said that earlier. So take the straw out first.
I'm very good straw guy.
We take it. We do this.
Agreed.
Clay, of course, is
I want to taste it.
not abiding by that.
That is strong, by the way. Strong, early alcohol.
That is that's a flamethrower. Is what that is right there. Holy cow! I am now warm.
10:30.
Thank you, Trip. We're now all warm for the first time today.
This is like a triple, I think. Thank Joey Freshwater. Thank Joey Freshwater. This, by the way, Innisfree is the bar that made the Joey Freshwater name famous, right? Because of allegations that Lane Kiffin may have enjoyed partaking in some of the festivities at Innisfree. And we were out late last night at Innisfree here. It's a great college bar. Fantastic group of people who've been running it for a long time here in Tuscaloosa. And people are just now starting to roll in because the game's not till 6 tonight. But already, like, the bar's open, everybody's grabbing drinks. It's good to see this place picking up and being ready to roll for, I've said this for a long time, and you know this. You went to the University of Alabama. There is nothing better than a college football Saturday in the South. It is what we do best, I think, as a country, and certainly for sports fans.
No doubt. There's no pro football team in Alabama.
Yeah.
Alabama is a culture. I mean, the atmosphere, whether you're an Alabama fan or an Auburn fan,
right.
This is a culture.
Yes.
And Saturday is religion to us.
No doubt.
By the way,
it's
these drinks are strong, not as strong as Clay's portfolio now that he owns a lime farm.
Right.
And Dax, when Clay told me this, we love partnering with you guys, by the way. We love being here in your town. I feel like you guys kind of run this town with Trip and Innisfree. But it's an interesting way for people to do something different in terms of investment. That I kind of joke about it, but Clay now owns a line farm, so it's
Colombian line farm.
Exactly,
Colombian line farm, and
which is not a euphemism. It's not like it's literally
it's
a Colombian
real
line farm.
And so we assigned Clay lot number 18 to symbolize our relationship of this.
Yes.
18 national championships.
Yeah.
Or Peyton Manning, number 18, Tennessee guy over
16,
here, so.
but it's close.
Yeah,
He was,
close enough.
Yeah, right. But so it is super cool, and I was
18
talking
in the NFL. But
yeah, right. 18 in the
that's
NFL.
what I was going for.
The what's interesting about
I got your back,
the whole
Thank you.
What's
You were
interesting
right.
about the whole setup is one of the big challenges for I think people out there in general is figuring out how to preserve assets now, right? Because you got the big infrastructure bill passed last night, tax rates increase coming, all-time stock market high, inflation at a 30-year high. What are you going to do to make sense of protecting your assets? And farmland is an answer for a lot of people to help hedge against the ridiculous situation with inflation right now.
Yeah, that's right. It's not just farmland. It's farmland with cash flow.
Right.
I mean, you hear a lot about cash flow. Everybody's talking about multifamily real estate. You got Grant Cardones of the world that are talking about cash flow is king. That's the truth.
Right.
And cap rate compression is a real way to make capital appreciation, as you and I have been talking about.
Yep.
But hard assets with cash flow, permanent crops, not row crops, but permanent crops like the lime farm that you own, are a great way to protect your assets and preserve something for the future, for whether it's generational or short term, just for ongoing cash flow for your own portfolio.
By the way, you went to Alabama when they couldn't win. You graduated what year?
2005.
So you graduated Alabama 2005, and then everything got white hot for Alabama 2008, right? Saban came in 7.
It was still a little bit of a rough ride through the Shula years when
Yes.
we kind of worked out of that in 2007. But 2007 we made the transition, and Saban came in. It was completely different.
I was
story.
talking about this earlier. You're a business guy. You've had a lot of success in business. When you look at Nick Saban's impact on the University of Alabama, not just football, you know, I mean, when you were here, the majority of people would have been from the state of Alabama, for instance. They've totally flipped that in less than a generation. What do you think Nick Saban is worth a year? Like, he makes around $10 million, and some people get so fired up, they're like, oh my God, how in the world does Nick Saban make $10 million? You're a business guy. What do you think Saban's worth to the University of Alabama is? If you were negotiating a deal, what would you be like, well, that's the actual dollars paid
Is it
for
more
him?
or less than Clay's lime farm? The value
That's hard to
that
say.
Saban's worth, more or less.
It is interesting because
It's
I remember when
tens of millions.
I remember when he first came in, and
Yes.
$4 million a year seemed like such a big number.
Right.
And now you think about the economic impact of just this town.
Hundreds
is
of
billions
millions of dollars.
of
Billions,
just,
yes.
I mean, the real estate development alone in this city has been incredible. But
Right.
the impact on the people around the community of Alabama, me specifically,
Right.
like I have embedded the process
Yes.
into my business philosophy.
Right.
Like I started doing that in 2008.
Yeah.
When I started to learn about how to establish a process with whatever it is you do. That is a game changer, not just for this state, but for the people of Alabama and the community that follow him. It's
I'm glad you
incredible.
mentioned that because so much of success, and I think Nick Saban is certainly one of the foremost proponents of the process and everything else, is not looking at results. It's making sure that you're making the right decisions on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
I think about that, for purposes of, for instance, growing OutKick or doing a radio show. You have to be as good as you can on that given day and not worry, hey, it's a random Tuesday. There may not be great stories that you're going to have to talk about. Do the best show you can on Tuesday, do the best show you can on Wednesday, and keep getting progressively better. And, that audience growth, that overall growth of branding, it can seem like a slog a lot of times, but then you look up and you've come a long distance, but if you focus on an end goal, then a lot of times you get distracted or you get, beaten down. And I think it's so fascinating because we have the natural tendency, and Saban does a good job of explaining this, but a lot of people look at the scoreboard. And if you're losing 42-3 on any given day, well, that is really, can get psychologically, make it hard for you to continue to work. But if you just think about it on a day-to-day basis or a play-to-play basis and work on getting better every individual day or every individual play, over time that adds up, right? And same thing is true in business. And that's why I think to a large extent, what Saban does with Alabama translates to so many people, right? In business, in their life in general. The process model of just focusing on getting better every single day and being individually responsible for yourself, to me, is just such a great lesson in life.
It is. I mean, and we go by the same philosophy that Saban. It's the 24-hour rule.
Yeah.
You win something, you have 24 hours to celebrate.
Right.
And then it's back to work.
Right.
And that's the philosophy that we have, and that's the philosophy that Saban has instituted on the entire program, which is celebrate your victories, but focus on the next goal.
It's a great point.
About.
What amazes me is how happy this town is, and that's a product of winning.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. We're out last night. We're here in Innisfree, and everyone is just always on cloud nine because of those wins. Not the case when you were in school here. We were in college at the same time. This is the last time I could say that Tennessee was actually beating Alabama in football was then. But it is amazing when you see this town around this team with all of these wins.
Well, there's so many great people in this community. I mean, just Tuscaloosa in general, and the whole state really flocks to this particular domicile for a period of 24 hours, and it's such a great place to catch up with everybody. I mean, my reunions with everybody that I've known for my entire life are here. Probably 3 or 4 times a year. This is where I catch up with everybody, and that energy is just vibrant throughout the weekend, and it really carries through the entire town, and there's just so many great people here.
This is the John D. Rockefeller and J.P. Morgan of lives that I'm sitting with right now. Dax Cook, CEO of Farm Folio, of course, Clay Travis, president of OutKick. It's a lot of fun, guys.
It's awesome.
Shall
It's
we
gonna be a great day.
Cheers. Have a sip?
To Joey Freshwater.
Cheers to you
Here we
guys.
go.
Cheers to being inside and warm also after these drinks. And back to you guys
It's a
outside in the
Tide
cold.
covering, by the way. I think they're going to blow out
Joey
LA.
Freshwater,
It's a
like,
cover.
I like it. I like it.
it's all good. They're in t-shirts inside. How nice it must be in there.
How cool is Dax?
The best, the most gracious host for us when we're in Tuscaloosa. As
How
well.
great is it that Clay owns a lime farm now?
Like you said, he wants to be a farmer. He's just gonna go. He's gonna go be with my ancestors back in Iowa. He's just gonna be farming the land.
Makes sense with Farm Folio.
We have Jake Coker, who is kind enough to just literally stand behind us and wait for us to get to him. So we're going to do that. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with an Alabama national championship winning quarterback right after this on OutKick the Tailgate.
There's never been a more challenging time to be an investor. Your stock markets are overvalued by every measure with record low cap rates. Cryptocurrency can go from boom to bust overnight, and inflation is making everything hard to predict. Wouldn't it be nice if you could just sit back and watch your money grow? That's where Farm Folio comes in. Farmland ownership made easy. Farmland's an asset class that's often overlooked, but it's one that's consistently delivered higher returns than other investments with significantly less volatility. You can buy a farm lot from Farm Folio, and we'll manage every aspect of your farm property, from crop care, harvesting, and sales of your produce through our company-owned packing facilities and international sales offices. With Farm Folio, farmland ownership has never been easier. Simply sit back and enjoy the fruits of our labor. Farm Folio, you own, we farm, you earn.
OutKick The Tailgate live from Innisfree in Tuscaloosa, and a very popular guy around here. When you win a national championship as a quarterback, I have to imagine it's pretty nice to come back. Jake Coker, kind enough to join us here. Thanks for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank y'all for having me. Always a good time coming to Innisfree for anything, but especially meeting y'all up here.
How legendary is this place in Tuscaloosa?
Had a lot of celebratory beers in this place. It's
just like every Alabama fan. There's plenty to celebrate at all times. Everybody's just drinking constantly.
Yeah, it's been a good run.
Jake, by the way, one of the 14 quarterbacks to win a national title at Alabama. So there's a lot of them going through.
It was special like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And now you're just like, I guess we're going to have a reunion at some point. Yeah.
Is there anything that stands out, though, like about winning a national championship here at Alabama? Like the week of the game itself, anything that you have, like?
Yeah, no, I mean, so I grew up in Mobile, big Alabama fan, went to Florida State out of high school, and, I thought Alabama and Florida State were the best two offers I could get. Florida State because Jimbo was there, and I think he's probably still the best quarterbacks coach in the country. And Alabama because obviously Coach Saban and how strong this program has performed even when I was back in high school. And so anyway, went to Florida State because they offered me first, and things just kind of ended up happening the way they happened, and I was lucky enough to fulfill a dream to win a national championship here. So really enjoyed my time here, and coming back, especially coming back and seeing the guys in Innisfree I spend a lot of time with after games. It's always fun to have a few beers with them and have a good time.
Do you believe Jimbo when he says that he's not going to LSU? That he's got ranches in Texas?
Actually, I saw him. So I went to the Alabama A&M game.
We were there.
We also did.
Okay. I went out there with a bunch of old Florida State teammates, and so went and saw Jimbo on Friday before the game, and listen to how much he loved it out there. And he does have. I know he's got a lot of property out there. He's doing a lot of hunting on, and. I don't see him leaving, but who knows? College football is kind of crazy, so you never know what might happen. But I know he loves it at A&M, at College Station.
I don't know why I remember this story, Jake, but whenever you transferred here to Alabama, Saban was really upset with the media that they just assumed that you were the starter. It's like the media proclaimed you the starter, and he did not want to do it. You remember him being like upset about that behind the scenes at all?
Yeah, but well, I mean, behind the scenes,
it was like a media day thing.
He didn't say much. Well, I say that. I mean, to be honest with you, back then I didn't have Twitter or Instagram or anything because I was just trying to hide from all that, the hype machine, and I vaguely remember it, but I still remember stories even outside of having the social media platforms. I was like the starter while I was still the backup at Florida State. It was just insane what kind of rumors were out there and how that escaped and leaked. So I mean, it was definitely a hype machine, and I could see where he was annoyed by it, but I definitely heard it as well.
Has he mellowed out at all over the years?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've heard some stories. I mean, I remember when guys, had the wrong logo on their socks and they just get their ass ripped and walk through. But now I hear some guys getting away with a few things they used to not be able to get away with.
Yeah.
But I mean, Coach Saban's still Coach Saban.
Of course,
nobody gets away with much.
Well, there's always the comparison with Bear Bryant and Nick Saban, right? For obvious reasons. Two of the greatest coaches of all time. Nick Saban, the greatest coach of all time in college football. But Bear Bryant was very difficult to play for if you were the quarterback. Yeah. And there's legendary stories about how he would sit or stand and watch before they ran out with the quarterbacks and talk to them. How difficult was it with Nick Saban? I know he's a defensive guy first, and that's his background, but being Nick Saban's quarterback, how big of a burden is that?
Well, I guess it's nerve-wracking when you're in the position that I was in. It was, I never really was given the reins until halfway through my senior year. And so, his big thing is you don't have to win the game, just don't lose it, pretty much. Don't turn the ball over, don't make mistakes. Basically our defense will keep us in games, and you just got to make sure you get it to the right guys and be a facilitator. And so, I spent probably that first half of that season really nervous about, where I was going to go with the ball, and I was probably a little late in getting the ball out sometimes, and I feel like I progressively got better as the year went on, but, you just knew when you threw that interception and you looked over the sideline and just like you just see this father figure over there like, damn it. You're just like, I'm not going to be able to sleep at night.
You only want to walk over and see him at that point, right? You're just like,
right. You see him throwing his headset, and you're like, all right, I'm going to go on this end.
I'm going to go to our quarterback coach now and run that way.
Jake Coker is our guest here, and we look at the college football rankings that came out, right? And you look at the top 4 coaches are all either Nick Saban or somebody that has been on Nick Saban's staff.
I played for every single one of those coaches. It's crazy.
So, I mean we all know that, that Saban is the greatest, but how has he been able to have such a coaching tree that we now see them all at the very top of the college football playoff rankings?
I think there's a lot of really good coaches out there as far as X's and O's go, but I think he teaches guys, how to run a program and how to coordinate everybody, get everybody on the same page and run it like a CEO and really organize a program. And so I think everybody kind of goes to him for that knowledge, and then they kind of figure out how to build that program and really set a foundation. And so I think it's more so off the field things than it is really on the field. And his discipline, the guy was there. We'd show up for workouts at 5:30, his car's there, and then we'd be leaving at like 6:30 and his car was there. And he's like, I can't remember how old he is, but most guys that age are asleep.
He's older, he's older than us. Yeah. Let's just say that. He's older than us.
That's right. That's right. But he's, on and off the field, he's, the best coach anybody could play for. He's got it all. He's got a charisma about him, a confidence about him. It's hard to say, if I had a son, getting recruited by him, it'd be hard to tell him to go anywhere else.
How bizarre is it that LSU is a 28-point underdog today to Alabama?
Man, they've fallen quickly, huh? It's just
crazy.
Yeah, and I think Coach O's done a great job there. You hate to see anybody get fired or pushed out, but I think it says a lot. So Coach Saban has that kind of turnover all the time, but the way he manages that, and rebuilds within 6 months, it kind of speaks to how he builds a program and really what kind of leader he is.
I don't know if you may not like this analogy. On the show this week, I mentioned I went to Bryant-Denny for the first time in 2005, and then the first time since the renovations for the Ole Miss game. And I said going into that stadium, it was much like going to a church service where the fans are there, you're kind of talking as you go in, but you know what's about to happen, right? You go to the game, you get some food, there's dinner on the ground, then you go back home and, hang out with family.
Coffee hour.
You just kind of expect, even against Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin, Alabama fans knew what was going to happen before kickoff, and they have it so easy. Like I was expecting like this crazy atmosphere, and while it was loud, it was not anything like I remember it being.
Oh yeah.
Do you get the same vibe now? Like, do the fans have it way too easy?
Oh yeah. It's like a church service in Bryant-Denny, and then you go anywhere else, it's like a funeral service as they watch
yes.
Alabama just roll over everybody. It's just
literally every town we've been to has been a funeral service, and here we see the life. Yeah. We see the church. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Everybody's so happy.
Oh yeah.
Everybody's so happy around here.
That's right.
It's incredible.
It's a foregone conclusion what's happening today.
Oh yeah. Right? It's everybody.
But the students can't leave. They cannot leave early.
That's right. It's everybody's spoiled, and I'm nervous about what's going to happen when Coach Saban leaves. I know. I think Greg Burns is one of the best, if not the best, AD in the country, and I think he's going to do a great job no matter what happens. But I am nervous about him leaving just because it's going to be sad, not having him around, not having that guy, that figurehead that we've always loved, and former players, kind of sought comfort in.
By leaves, you mean leave the earth, because I feel like he's not going to stop coaching. Right? And I've said this for a while. Alabama is going to be great and dominant as long as Nick Saban's alive. I just don't see him as a man who's going to retire and go to his lake house or go on, be a college football analyst.
I agree.
He wants a team to be around. This is who he is, what he wants to do, and Alabama's going to be in the national championship mix as long as he's living.
Oh, yeah. And he's one of those guys,
and
too.
And given his health, he's probably going to live another 30, 40 years at this point. He's going to defy science.
Oh, yeah. And I think as you kind of get further on in these new generations and the NIL deals and everybody's becoming more individualized, I still think he's got that charisma about him to just demand that respect, and guys will play for him no matter what, Whereas new coaches in other places, may not be able to demand that respect and that effort from guys who are making a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
So I think he'll always have that and always have guys who play for the team.
So, Jake, what are you up to now?
I'm at Bancorp South. Now I'm going to be Cadence Bank. I'm doing commercial insurance in Mobile, Alabama. So got a 2-year-old daughter. Been married a couple years and figuring it out. That's for sure.
I too have a 2-year-old daughter, and I'm still figuring it out.
Any advice?
You
want to talk after this?
Every day's an adventure. Parenting with Jake and Chad will be coming to OutKick Network very soon.
Big podcast.
Let's just put our 2-year-olds in our lap and talk about all the challenges.
Chad and Coker.
Yes.
That's right.
We really appreciate you stopping by.
Oh, yeah. No, I enjoyed it. Great meeting y'all, and love to do it again sometime. Y'all need to come hang out at Innisfree. A lot more.
Anytime.
We're not leaving.
They're going to have to kick us out at this point.
I got you.
Stay with us. We'll have more on OutKick the Tailgate right after this.
There's never been a more challenging time to be an investor. Your stock markets are overvalued by every measure with record low cap rates. Cryptocurrency can go from boom to bust overnight, and inflation is making everything hard to predict. Wouldn't it be nice if you could just sit back and watch your money grow? That's where Farm Folio comes in. Farmland ownership made easy. Farmland's an asset class that's often overlooked, but it's one that's consistently delivered higher returns than other investments with significantly less volatility. You could buy a farm lot from Farm Folio, and we'll manage every aspect of your farm property, from crop care, harvesting, and sales of your produce through our company-owned packing facilities and international sales offices. With Farm Folio, farmland ownership has never been easier. Simply sit back and enjoy the fruits of our labor. Farm Folio, you own, we farm, you earn.
OutKick the Tailgate. We ended last night at Innisfree. We are going to end our show here.
Trip is behind me.
We have
the literal devil on my shoulder right now. This Trip.
Just like
we did shots of Fireball. We did them on a shot ski last week. We're going to have individual glasses today.
Cheers.
It's probably a
Trip,
little easier.
Always. Roll Tide.
To another OutKick the Tailgate. Roll Tide.
I'm having a hard time thinking about this shot right now.
Farm Folio.
Just getting started today.
Mentally preparing.
All right, here we go, guys.
I did it.
It's like we never stopped because we didn't.
And we keep rolling today.
Every week I have to ask Jill, are you okay?
Are you okay?
After that, her face looks a little like it's not okay.
Shots are not my deal, but thanks, Trip. We appreciate it.
Trip, you're the man.
Always.
And this place is great.
We got a full day in front of us.
Yeah, we do have a full day in front of us. Some very sweet lady came and brought us pies as well from Sweet Dreams
Pecan's
down in
my
McFarland. Pecan or pecan?
Pecan.
Right, we can.
It's pecan.
I'm just saying.
Get it right.
There are people that say it both ways.
I don't say pecan. It's pecan or pecan.
You're in the South. It's pecan.
Whatever.
Also, these pies were set in front of us.
And a sweet potato pie.
Well, that's very
as well.
nice. Is this
Sweet
the
Dreams.
lady?
Yeah.
Sweet Dreams. Thanks to Sweet Dreams. These pies were set down, and Hutton goes, "Are we eating these?
We eating these right now?
Supposed to eat these?
We will be, and apparently that's yours. There you go. So enjoy. Next
we are
week,
trained monkeys. We'll do whatever you say, and we're better trained than the monkey
Dax
that
can
the
juggle.
Texas special teams coach has. That was not very well trained.
Yeah.
That's my one reference. to that
Next
story.
week, we are going to be in Knoxville, Chad's alma mater, and he will not be there.
Nope.
Just Hutton and I. See you later.
So I'm
Peace
in a
out.
wedding, all right, and I'm getting so much crap from everyone.
Not from
That's
me.
a part of this
I understand
operation.
this.
Hutton's the only one who's not giving me.
I understand
I
this.
am standing up in this wedding. If I was just going to a wedding, I would return to my alma mater victoriously. I would return in victory and be there with you. But I'm in the wedding. I have to go pick up a tux, the whole 9 yards. So I can't be there, and I'm bummed about it.
I feel this is going to be our Twitter poll next week while you're gone.
Fall weddings?
Yeah, fall weddings, yes or no. And do you ditch out on OutKick The Tailgate?
I did learn for the first time he has not met the bride yet. He meets the bride next week.
I'm not. Yeah, it's one of my best friends. I've not even met the woman he's marrying.
Well,
and you know what? I don't want to. Based on the fact that she decided to get married in the fall, I don't even care to meet her.
There you go.
I hope she's watching right now. And
Now.
whatever bridesmaid I'm escorting down, I don't care to meet you either. Because you have ripped me and taken me from my road weekend
From
fall
Neyland.
family. From Neyland Stadium, from my alma mater. You have taken that from me. So I don't even care.
We will enjoy it, and if it's
will.
anything like the last trip, we'll have a great time. We'll see you soon.
I mean, this trip is better to Tuscaloosa with me, right?
Yes.
Come on.
Yes, absolutely.
There's a couple nods out there, but else like,
The trip to Knoxville will not be the same without you.
Imagine it's 70 degrees right now, and then tell me if it's better or worse, and it's not, 38.
It would be better with you,
Thank
Chad.
you, Jill.
It's always better with
Thank you, Jill. Thanks.
Yeah.
How bad is Alabama going to crush LSU tonight?
It's going to be
Clip this whenever LSU pulls the upset.
Yeah.
It's going to be bad.
35 plus?
It's going to be as
All
bad
right,
as me finishing this
you
drink.
need to finish that. You also are going to be watching your Tennessee Volunteers tonight. We will be there, though, next week for OutKick The Tailgate. Join us next week from Knoxville. Everybody, enjoy your college football Saturday.